Chapter 507. Bailey Ningbing's face was gloomy as she angrily snorted at Qin Hao, then turned around and walked to the side. No one knew what the two of them talked about, but they all thought it had something to do with Qin Hao killing Fang Handong. But, with Qin Hao's current status and strength, could Bailey Ningbing touch him? Even if the Limitless Demon Palace's palace master came, he wouldn't dare to do anything to Qin Hao, let alone Bailey Ningbing. However, no one looked down on Bailey Ningbing. On the contrary, they felt that this woman was loyal, brave, and loyal. She and Fang Handong only had a Dao companion agreement, and they weren't real Dao companions. They didn't have any shared experiences or feelings, and everyone knew that. You'll regret it. I'll make you regret it. Qin Hao. Bailey Ningbing bit her lips and said firmly in her heart. She had been favored since she was young, and she had never been humiliated, let alone humiliated so severely. She had talent, and looks. On the entire Wuji Star, which female disciple was worse than her? She had always had a proud heart, and she had the right to be proud. As long as she was willing to lower herself to befriend someone, which young disciple wouldn't be overjoyed? But now, she was being ruthlessly trampled by Qin Hao. Even if she had already given up her pride and approached him, this was humiliation, naked humiliation. She never thought that she would be humiliated like this. Brother Hao, why did she look for you? Leng Ninghuan asked curiously after Bailey Ningbing retreated angrily. She wanted to repay me with her body, but I sternly rejected her. This person really overestimated herself. Didn't she see that my Huanhuan and Lei are 10 times prettier and 100 times better than her? I really don't know where her confidence came from. Qin Hao's lips curled into a devilish smile as he spoke to the two girls. All along, the beautiful sisters had always felt that they were inferior to humans in the depths of their hearts. Humans naturally referred to Qin Shui, Helian Wuzi, and the others. Firstly, their qualifications were not as old as Qin Shui and the others. Secondly, their talent and realm were not as strong as Qin Shui and the others. Since they were able to become Qin Hao's Dao companions, they had very low expectations of themselves. Regardless of whether Qin Hao was biased or not, they had no complaints. How could Qin Hao not know about such a lovely and considerate pair of sisters? However, Qin Hao really couldn't take care of too many things. Especially when all the women were together, the sisters' performance helped Qin Hao solve a lot of potential problems in the harem. How could that be? The sisters said shyly. Although they said so, they felt sweet in their hearts. Qin Hao rarely praised them. Hiss. A moment later, a stream of light came from afar. When it reached the peak of the mountain, it slowly descended. Greetings, Heavenly Sovereign Yuanru. Senior brother. Ha! Junior brother, you're early. Heavenly Venerate Yuanru greeted Qin Hao and then said to the others, there's no need for formalities. Since everyone is here, let's set off. Before we set off, Old Man emphasized again that once you step out of the Wuji Star, you'll represent the honor of the Wuji Star. I don't want to see anyone do anything that will harm the honor of the Wuji Star. You're all in the human celestial stage and represent the future of the Wuji Star. No matter when, the Wuji Star will be your solid support. Of course, the cruelty and danger of the outside world is impossible for us to take care of everyone. You can only rely on yourselves. Only strength is everything. Immortal Dao, Demon Dao, and Demon Dao, when you're on the Wuji Star, you're competitors. But in fact, it's just a way for us to encourage you. When you're outside, I hope you can help each other and promote each other. Hiss. Heavenly Venerate Yuanru said majestically. As he spoke, he waved his hand and sent out a stream of energy. In an instant, the empty core of the mountain began to shine with resplendent silver light. At the same time, the entire mountain began to shake violently. A huge object that seemed like a palace but was clearly different from a palace appeared before everyone's eyes with resplendent silver light. This was the first time the young cultivators had seen such a scene, and their eyes were filled with excitement and surprise. Is this a flying magic treasure? Qin Hao said in his heart. He released his divine sense and sensed the silver palace that was 3,000 feet long, 3,000 feet wide, and 2,000 feet tall. Compared to the technological flying machines on Earth, whether it was in terms of structure or principle, it was like the difference between heaven and earth. It could be said that they were two completely different things. This is the best flying magic treasure on the Wuji star, the silver-winged infinity. Don't try to probe it. It's one of our ancestors' magic treasures. It's a top-grade divine artifact. Let alone you, even an expert of the heaven immortal realm can't probe it. Its flying speed can reach the peak of the late stage of the heaven immortal realm. It's 1,000 times faster than tearing the void. Its defensive power can ignore any attack below the peak of the late stage of the earth immortal realm. Well, let's go. Heavenly Venerate Yuanru explained to everyone. At the same time, he opened the door of the silver-winged infinity. Hearing Heavenly Venerate Yuanru's words, the young cultivators couldn't wait and rushed excitedly toward the light gate. Junior brother, how is it? Heavenly Venerate Yuanru asked when he saw Qinhao staring at the silver-winged infinity with bright eyes. It's okay. A top-grade divine artifact is really extraordinary, but, why do you have to refine it into this shape? Besides, senior brother, you only talked about its defensive power and flying speed. Doesn't such a powerful flying machine have any offensive function? Cough. Junior brother, a flying machine, especially a top-grade divine artifact like this, will be more than 10 times more expensive if it has an offensive formation. If that's all, it's nothing. The key is that once it has an offensive formation, it will definitely affect its flying speed. Even the best craftsman can't take care of it. Junior brother, do you know anything about crafting? Not really, but I know a little. The material of this silver-winged infinity is really good. If I'm not wrong, there's almost no defensive formation. It's completely supported by the defensive power of the material itself, right? That's right. I didn't expect junior brother to know about this. You're really amazing. Heavenly Venerate Yuanru praised. He knew that with Qinhao's cultivation base, it was impossible for him to see through the structure of the silver-winged infinity and the formation it contained. The fact that Qinhao could come to such a conclusion based on mere speculation proved that he had a deep understanding of crafting materials and formations. In fact, it was not Qinhao who knew, but Old God who knew. The material of the silver-winged infinity was a rare defensive metal called starlight silver. Its hardness alone could withstand the full-force attack of a peak late-stage Earth immortal expert without causing any damage. After everyone had entered the silver-winged infinity, Heavenly Lord Yuanru, Qinhao, and the sisters also went in. Sure enough, it didn't incorporate the law of space, of course, since the purpose of crafting this silver-winged infinity is to increase its speed, it's naturally impossible to incorporate the law of space. In the chaotic space, any law of space is greatly affected. If you want to maintain its stability, you'll need to spend a lot of runes to suppress it, and the energy consumed is also enormous, Old God said in Qinhao's mind. But if we combine the technology of Earth with the crafting methods here, the effect will certainly be astonishingly improved. Of course. To tell you the truth, the things on Earth are indeed unique, and practitioners can't use magic to achieve that. If we can combine them, Master, it's hard for you not to be amazing. It's just that with your current strength, you can only craft low-level items. For example, you can't even change the shape of this starlight silver, let alone craft aircraft. Inside the silver-winged infinity, there was no independent space except for the control room. Everything was open, and the walls were densely covered with runes. There was a fixed seat every 200 feet in the cabin. When Qinhao and the sisters came in, some practitioners had already chosen their favorite seats and sat down cross-legged. Everyone, we're about to set off. If everything goes well, it will take us half a year to reach the Yang planet. If we encounter too many space storms, we may be delayed for some time. Moreover, this place is completely isolated from the outside world, and you can't sense the slightest law of heaven and earth. But, you won't be bored. 10 days later, we'll enter the full coverage of the second world, and you can enter the second world. Junior brother, you can choose a place to sit. After we set off and enter the safe zone, the windows will open and be replaced by transparent crystals. The scenery in the chaotic space is not bad. Celestial Master Yuanru said to Qin Hao alone after giving instructions to the others. Yes, senior brother, can I go with you to the control room to have a look? Of course. Why, do you want to study it? I'm just looking around, alright. But the control room is small, and it's fine if we stay here. Brother Hao, you can go take a look with Senior Celestial Master Yuanru. The considerate sisters said with a smile. Well, you can find a place to sit. I'll come after taking a look. Hiss, hiss, hiss. After leading Qin Hao into the control room, Celestial Master Yuanru activated the silver-winged infinity with his mind and energy. In an instant, the runes on the walls of the cabin emitted dazzling light. Rumble. With a loud noise, the enormous silver-winged infinity tore through the void and disappeared from the mountain peak. Inside, no one felt any fluctuations. We've entered the chaotic space, Celestial Master Yuanru said. Amazing. I didn't feel anything at all. Qin Hao exclaimed. He was indeed very surprised. The power of the law of heaven and earth was something that technology couldn't achieve. If you like this work, you're welcome to vote for it at Qidian. Calm. Chapter 508. Once the light shield emitted by the runes is activated, it's equivalent to holding up an independent small world. It's completely isolated from the outside world. Naturally, we won't be affected at all. However, the silver-winged infinity can only be driven by the soul power of a heaven celestial expert. Therefore, on the Infinity Star, the 3 palace masters, me, and a few other heaven celestial experts take turns going to the Ying planet. This time, because of you, junior brother, I swapped places with them. Whatever you want to know, just ask. I'm just looking around. I have nothing to ask, Qin Hao said as he looked casually at the complicated runes in the control room. In fact, Qin Hao really had nothing to ask. He had only come here because the old god wanted to take a look. But now, the old god's structure, runes, and functions of the silver-winged infinity were simply snorting disdainfully. After chatting with Heavenly Lord Yuanru for a while, Qin Hao returned to the sisters. Originally, he had the beautiful idea of having an independent cultivation room. Now, looking at the pairs of eyes that looked at him from time to time, Qin Hao could only stare at the 2 blooming flowers helplessly. After the novelty wore off, the crowd had nothing to do. Some were bragging, some were trying to curry favor, and some were immersed in comprehending unique skills. It was basically impossible to cultivate without being able to sense the laws of heaven and earth and the energy of heaven and earth. At best, they could use spiritual herbs and spiritual crystals to refine their true core strength. 10 days finally passed in the midst of everyone's torturous anticipation. When Heavenly Lord Yuanru announced that they could enter the second world, all the cultivators in the cabin screamed excitedly. Let's go in. Let's meet directly at the residence. Qin Hao said to the sisters as he quickly took out the spiritual helmet. Okay. The sisters replied and put on their spirit helmets. Boom, 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 in an instant, all the cultivators in the silver-winged infinity activated their essence, qi, and spirit and entered the second world. At this moment, everyone present once again felt Qin Hao's shocking aura. Especially those Earth's celestial stage experts who didn't participate in Qin Hao's heavenly punishment ceremony. At this moment, they truly felt it and understood that the rumors weren't exaggerated in the slightest. In the second world, in Yang City, there were flashes of light. Qin Hao randomly appeared in Yang City. The moment he appeared, a series of notifications rang out in his mind. Qin Shui's, Helian Wuzi's, and Xia Yuyu's. Only Tan Tai Lian's was missing. Phew. It seems that Xiaolian hasn't come back yet. Could it be that she's really in danger? Qin Hao frowned as he read the information of the 3 people. The last time he entered the second world, Chen Shui told him about the situation of the girls. A few months had passed, and there was still no news. He was afraid. I hope nothing bad will happen. Chen Hao shook his head helplessly. Among the girls, Tan Tai Lian was indeed very ordinary in Chen Hao's mind. However, Tan Tai Lian was, after all, the only woman he really got in this life, even though he had no choice. Moreover, Tan Tai Lian was going crazy and risking her life. If it wasn't for him, who else would it be for? However, it was useless for Chen Hao to worry about it now. It was too far away. It would take him half a year to reach the Yang planet, and that was if everything went smoothly. Just as Chen Hao released his powerful perception to see if he could coincidentally appear in the same area as the sisters, another notification rang out in his mind. Senior brother. You're also here. Of course, it doesn't take much effort to control the silver wings. Junior brother, I've already reported your situation to Master. Master doesn't want you to waste the next 6 months. Master has plans? No, he doesn't. However, I can give you a few suggestions. The wealth card that Master gave you has 10,000 immortal core crystals stored in it. You can go to the arena. It should be enough for you to use for a while. Well, I'm thinking of going to the arena to have a look. The arena was a place for practitioners to learn from each other. At the same time, it was also a place where countless top forces paid attention to. Any disciple who performed well in the arena was likely to win the favor of the big shots. However, Chen Hao didn't care much about this. What Chen Hao really valued was the arena, where he could meet all kinds of opponents. There was no doubt that it was the best place to train. That's good. Besides, junior brother, although you won't really die in the second world, you can't ignore life and death. Once you develop this habit, the second world's training will be greatly reduced for you. Yes, I understand. Also, although Master didn't say it, if you go to the arena, you'd better do your best to make a name for yourself. The faster the better, and the more famous the better. There's no need to keep a low profile in the second world. Otherwise, even with your talent, it'll be very difficult for you to enter the eyes of the big shots. I'll try my best. Senior brother, can you help me with something? Chen Hao suddenly thought of a problem. What is it? As long as I can do it, I promise I'll do it for you. Xiaoyan, Tan Tai Lian, has taken on an extremely dangerous mission. There's been no news of her for nearly a year. She hasn't even landed in the second world. I'm worried that something might happen to her, ahem. Junior brother, no one can help you with this. No matter if it's a mission issued by the master of the Yang planet or a mission issued by the vast universe galaxy, no one can help a practitioner once they accept it. Unless a practitioner of the same level also takes on the mission, there's no hope of helping. Is that so? Forget it. Junior brother, you don't have to worry too much. Many mission areas can't connect to the second world. There are also many missions that can't be completed in 8 to 10 years, let alone 1 year, oh. Alright, that's it then. Thank you, senior brother. After cutting off the connection with Heavenly Lord Yuanru, Chen Hao's figure flashed and he headed toward his residence as fast as lightning. At the same time, he sent out several messages to reply to the girls. Although Chen Hao wanted to meet the girls alone, he decided against it. Just like with Chen Shui, why bother? It would only add to the suffering. If he couldn't do it in reality, it was better to know his place in the second world. He didn't want to destroy himself and harm them. Even if they were willing, Chen Hao couldn't bear to take their precious first time in this virtual world. He's finally here. Hao Hao is here, in the cultivation room within the courtyard. Helian Wuzi, who was as cold as the moon, and Xia Yuyu, who was pure and refined, stood up one by one when they heard the notification sound and found out that it was Chen Hao. Chapter 509. 2 months ago, after Helian Wuzi and Xia Yuyu returned from a mission, they learned from Chen Shui that Chen Hao had already awakened. From then on, their divine senses had never left the second world, and they had been waiting for Chen Hao to appear. And now, Qin Hao had finally appeared. That's not right. Huan Huan and Lei Lei don't have wealth cards. If they fly, wouldn't they need a few hours to reach their residence? After Qin Hao rushed to the nearest teleportation point, he suddenly thought of this problem and hurriedly contacted the sisters again. After confirming their location, Qin Hao chose the teleportation destination. Brother Hao, one immortal origin crystal per person for one teleportation is really too expensive. Let's fly over. After seeing Qin Hao at the teleportation point, the sisters persuaded him again. They knew how thrifty Qin Shui and the rest were. How could they bear to spend immortal origin crystals to teleport? What are you afraid of? Anyway, these immortal origin crystals were given to me by the ancestor. Besides, with me here, are you afraid of not having enough money to spend? Let's go. Qin Hao said in a rich and imposing manner. Although the original immortal origin crystal stones and spirit herbs could not be used as a common currency, they could still be exchanged for immortal origin crystals according to the ratio. With Qin Hao's wealth, although it could not be compared to a tycoon, it could still be slightly rich. In particular, the top-grade ores that he and Qin Shui obtained from the 9 nether frost pool could definitely be exchanged for a considerable amount of wealth. From afar, Qin Hao saw the 2 beautiful figures standing at the door of the courtyard, whom he had not seen for more than 10 years. When Helian Wuzi and Xia Yuyu saw Qin Hao and the other 2, they immediately flew over to greet them. Qin Hao looked at the excitement and joy on their beautiful little faces, and a boundless tenderness suddenly welled up in the depths of his heart. There was even a trace of understanding that stirred up layers of ripples in the depths of Qin Hao's heart. The great Tao was heartless. Was it really heartless? Qin Hao never believed that the great Tao was heartless, because he believed in his own feelings. However, regardless of whether it was cultivators or mortals, they seemed to have determined from the beginning that the great Tao was heartless. Qin Hao had never understood what was going on, but now, he finally understood. Cultivation has no concept of time. Closing one's eyes is equivalent to 1,000 years. Even if there were feelings, who would believe it? And he and his Tao companions were happy. Whether it was their own efforts or Qin Hao's full help, at least the gap between them had not become unreachable. It had only been over 10 years, and it was impossible for their feelings to fade. Instead, it was as if they had grown old and cherished each other even more. Qin Hao, Hao. The beautiful sisters voluntarily gave up Qin Hao's right to possess them, while Qin Hao opened his arms and hugged the 2 girls tightly. At this moment, Qin Hao's soul was unexpectedly clear, untainted by dust. Clearly, there was a warm and fragrant jade in his embrace, but there was not the slightest bit of lust. There was only a faint warmth that rippled in his heart. This was a wonderful feeling that Qin Hao had never experienced before. What was even more miraculous was that at this moment, Qin Hao clearly felt that his state of mind had actually merged with Helian Wuzi and Xia Yuyu. The 2 girls who originally had too much to say, but didn't know where to start, suddenly felt their hearts become tranquil and filled with warmth. Only when the surrounding passers-by were envious and jealous of them did the 2 girls embarrassedly leave Qin Hao's embrace, interrupting Qin Hao's wonderful state of mind that had suddenly arrived. It was a bit regretful, but it couldn't be forced. The 5 of them quickly returned to the courtyard. The beautiful sisters still used the excuse of cultivating, while Qin Hao chatted with the 2 girls for a few hours, just like before with Qin Shui. Of course, the main person talking was Qin Hao. Qin Hao had already known the general situation of the 2 from Qin Shui. So many people. Qin Hao couldn't help but exclaim in surprise as he looked at the long line of people in front of him. The only thing missing was that there was no one pressing on the other. This was the entrance to the arena. Qin Hao was accompanied by Helian Wuzi and Xia Yuyu. The beautiful sisters didn't even have the qualifications to enter the arena because they didn't have the wealth card for the time being. They could only stay in their residence and cultivate. There are indeed a lot of people today. Could it be that there's a famous person who wants to fight? A famous person who wants to fight? Qin Hao was a bit puzzled. Yes, it's a person who has a very high battle record and is very famous. These kinds of people cherish their reputation. Unless their qualifications are comparable, or there's a wager that's enough to move them, they basically won't fight. In the arena, Every time there's such a battle, it's the time when there's the most cultivators. You have to know that in the arena, even if you don't challenge and only watch the battle, you can still benefit a lot. You can see many peculiar battle skills and unique secret skills. Moreover, in the arena, if you spend a certain amount of celestial core crystals, you can enter the arena of both parties and completely experience the aura, power, and artistic conception of their unique skills. I know that. It's indeed a very powerful function. Chen Hao learned this from the information he obtained when he entered the second world. This was impossible in the real world, but it could be done in the second world. According to the level of the battle, as long as you pay a certain amount of celestial core crystals, you can enter the arena. However, except for feeling, you're completely invisible and can't interfere with the battle at all. Zui Hongchen from the Tianyuan planet and Zhuge Ming from the Jindan planet are both first-class geniuses. In the same realm, Zui Hongchen is a top figure ranked 13th in Yang City, while Zhuge Ming is ranked 26th. However, since he directly challenged Zui Hongchen, he must have made some progress, yes. Zhuge Ming hasn't appeared for 3 years. It's said that he went on a dangerous mission and spent more than 2 years. Sure enough, in the long line of people at the entrance, many people were discussing today's main character. Just as Xia Yuyu said, there was a famous person challenging them. How, it's your first time here. If there's no bet, I'm afraid no one will fight with you. The bet here is at least 10 celestial core crystals. If you bet 10 crystals, someone will definitely accept the challenge. 10 crystals and someone will accept the challenge? Oh. I understand. There must be a lot of people who rely on winning against newcomers to earn celestial core crystals, right? Yes. How, even we often do this. Otherwise, we won't have enough celestial core crystals. However, even so, we'll still lose. Xia Yuyu said. What's your record? Chen Hao looked at Xia Yuyu and Helian Wuzi and asked. Mine is very bad. 306 battles, 30 wins, 306 losses. Xia Yuyu said. Xiao Wu, what about you? I'm not good either. 436 battles, 108 wins, 64 draws, 264 losses. Helian Wuzi said, disciples of the Limitless Star, in terms of talent and combat power, there's a huge gap between us and the other powerful planets. This is also the reason why the 4 of us were only chosen by second-rate forces. Helian Wuzi, Qin Shui, Xia Yuyu, and Tan Tai Lian, the 4 of them were respectively chosen by the 4 second-rate forces. In these few years, the 4 of them basically met in the second world. In reality, they only met 2 or 3 times. Xiao Wu and Sister Shue's record is considered the top in our Wuji planet. Xia Yuyu said very frankly. Now, Helian Wuzi relied on the power of reincarnation and Qin Shui relied on the valiant soul to surpass her, who was originally the strongest. Indeed, we're a little too weak. Chen Hao also had to admit the reality. No matter what, although the 2 of them were not the top among the genius disciples of Wuji planet, they were still very outstanding. However, their chances of winning here were actually so low. One had to know that the arena was divided into several levels. The arena for each level was divided into 3 areas. For example, the arena for the human celestial realm was divided into the early, middle, and late stages of the human celestial realm. You could go to the high-level area to challenge, but you couldn't go to the low-level area. Yes, some guys in the creation realm and half-step human celestial realm are stronger than us. How, although your talent and combat power are high, don't let your guard down. After walking out of the Wuji planet, we realized that there's always someone better than us. It's really too difficult for us to stand out, junior sister Helian. Just as Chen Hao's group of 3 followed the line and continuously approached the entrance, at the end of the line on the left, a young girl with a tall figure and a rough appearance suddenly shouted towards Helian Wuzi. That's right, it was a girl. However, she looked even more manly than a man. Even Bai Xiaomei was not in the same weight class when compared to her. Senior Sister Fei, you're here too. When Hellion Woozy heard the other parties shout, her face showed a trace of respect and intimacy as she greeted her. This rough girl was called Fei Lena. She was a disciple of the Saint Dipper sect like Hellion Woozy. She took good care of Hellion Woozy and also helped Hellion Woozy with some things several times. The two of them entered the Saint Dipper sect together. However, although they were both in the middle stage of the human celestial realm, Fei Lena's strength was several times stronger than Hellion Woozy's. When Hellion Woozy greeted Fei Lena, Xia Yuyu also looked at Fei Lena with a smile. At the same time, she introduced Fei Lena to Qin Hao through voice transmission. Because of Hellion Woozy, Xia Yuyu already knew Fei Lena in the second world. Yes. I just came back from a mission, so I came to play. Junior sister Hellion, this is? He's Qin Hao, huh? I guessed it. Not bad. Qin Hao, nice to meet you. Fei Lena walked over enthusiastically and said to Qin Hao. Same. Thank you for taking care of Xiao Wu. Qin Hao also said with a smile. No wonder junior sister is so devoted to you. Qin Hao, let's go in later and have a fight. This. I think it's better to do it another day. Cough cough, another day. If we want to fight, there's no need to waste celestial core crystals here. Yes, that's true. Well, let's find a place to fight another day. Your appearance is really handsome and your aura is also quite strong. I just don't know if your real combat strength is worthy of junior sister Hellion. Ha. I'm just joking, don't mind. Don't say it. Qin Hao, let me tell you, in our Saint Dipper sect, many genius disciples are in love with junior sister Hellion. Senior sister Fei, what are you talking about? Hellion Woozy revealed the shyness of a little girl and said angrily. She didn't say this to Qin Hao. Firstly, she was afraid that Qin Hao would be worried. Secondly, she had never cared about anyone other than Qin Hao. Although the disciples who pursued her were stronger than Qin Hao in terms of talent, combat strength, and background, she wasn't moved at all. Love was love. Once true love reached a certain level, everything else would no longer be important. What's more, Hellion Woozy firmly believed that the future Qin Hao would absolutely not be comparable to others. Chapter 510. Ha! Thank you for the reminder. Little Wu, I can guess whether your senior sister said it or not. Isn't Yuyu the same? Qin Hao said with a smile. You don't seem to be worried at all. Fei Lena looked at Qin Hao with a bit of astonishment. One had to know that no matter if it was Hellion Woozy or Xia Yuyu, they were both first-rate great beauties. Even if their innate aptitude was a bit lacking, it was also because of their inherited bloodline. This was losing at the starting line. As long as their comprehension was good, no one could say for sure how far they could walk in the future. Therefore, she had never underestimated Hellion Woozy. Especially since Hellion Woozy was a genius who had awakened the power of reincarnation. Within their Saint Do sect, there were quite a few young disciples who were much stronger than Qin Hao who were interested in Hellion Woozy. What's there to worry about? I believe in them. Of course, I also believe in myself. The corners of Qin Hao's mouth slightly curled up, revealing a smile filled with confidence. Move aside, move aside. Move aside. All of you move aside for me. Just at this moment, a rude and domineering voice came from behind, immediately attracting the attention of countless people in the surroundings. When Fei Lena saw the person who had come, she immediately frowned. Especially when she saw the other party rudely walking towards them, a trace of indignation flashed in the depths of her eyes. However, she who seemed to be rude, forcefully suppressed this anger. At the same time, she even opened up her enormous arms, like a small mountain, and leaned back, blocking Qin Hao, Hellion Woozy, and Xia Yuyu behind her. Obviously, she took the initiative to make way for the other party. We can't afford to offend these people. Fei Lena transmitted her voice to Qin Hao and the other two. Cough cough. Qin Hao slightly frowned and coughed. Even though Fei Lina's mountain-like body completely blocked the three of them and they couldn't see who had come, Chen Hao's sharp perception had already clearly seen the other party's aura, figure, and appearance in his mind. Who else could it be but that perverted Shimin Feng's group? However, seeing such a bold and rude Fei Lina actually yield, it made Chen Hao very puzzled. After all, with Fei Lina's strength, especially in the second world, it was simply not something that those guys could resist. Therefore, for the time being, Chen Hao didn't say anything. Oh. Isn't this Fei Lina? What a coincidence, this young master just so happens to have something to ask you to do. Say it. Fei Lina forcefully suppressed the anger in her heart. You what? Is that how you address me? Young Master Shimin, please speak. Fei Lina bit her lips in humiliation and said. That's right, I heard, you're Saint Do's Sect's Hellion Wuzi. Shimin Feng put his hands behind his back and didn't even look at Fei Lina's face that didn't interest him in the slightest. He turned his head to the side and spoke condescendingly. His tone was as if he was speaking to his own servant. Fei Lina was stunned and only muttered to herself for a moment before hurriedly transmitting her voice to Hellion Wuzi and the other two. Junior sister Hellion, Chen Hao, they definitely haven't discovered you. Leave first, quietly. This person is one of the 5 great clans of the Asianing planet, a direct descendant of the Shimin clan and one of the heirs, Shimin Feng. Anyone that he takes a fancy to, will be unscrupulous. And I'm his clan's slave. Quickly leave, don't let him see. Hellion Wuzi was extremely shocked. Although she had a good relationship with Fei Lina, she didn't know Fei Lina's true identity. In any case, she never thought that Fei Lina was actually a slave of the Shimin clan. After Fei Lina finished speaking, she hurriedly said, Young Master Shimin, we're very close, what do you want? Fei Lina had just opened her mouth when Hellion Wuzi suddenly stepped forward. Her cold gaze was like 2 sharp swords that shot straight at Shimin Feng. Hellion Wuzi wasn't the slightest bit afraid of Shimin Feng. As long as they were on the Asianing planet, they wouldn't have a chance. In the second world, she was even less afraid. Not only her, but even Xia Yuyu and Qin Shui had also been harassed by this guy. Moreover, they had already fought in the second world before. Otherwise, when they met Qin Shui last time, this group of guys wouldn't have been chased away by Qin Shui. At this time, the reason why Hellion Wuzi had stepped forward was because she didn't want Fei Lina to be hurt. She knew what a slave was. Junior sister Hellion. Fei Lina looked at Hellion Wuzi in surprise. She had made the decision to let Hellion Wuzi and the others leave, so naturally she was denying her relationship with Hellion Wuzi. In fact, she had already made preparations to sacrifice herself. She was just a slave. She had relied on her own talent and unremitting efforts to get to where she was today. But she knew that no matter how high her cultivation was, she was still a member of the Shimin family. A slave could never betray. Betrayal meant death. Her naturally straightforward personality made it impossible for her to do anything that would let Hellion Wuzi down. But now, Fei Lina was both grateful and worried for Hellion Wuzi. She was very clear about Shimin Feng's methods. Hellion Wuzi. Good. I didn't expect you two to be together, haha. Don't misunderstand, Well, I just wanted Fei Lina to bring you a message. I've offended you in the past, and I hope we can turn enemies into friends. Cough, don't misunderstand, the friends I'm talking about are real friends, definitely not mixed with any impurities. It was definitely a 180-degree turn. No one would have thought that Shimin Feng would actually say such a thing. His words, his expression, and his attitude were definitely very, very sincere. It was definitely the opposite of the arrogant playboy just now. Moreover, it gave people the feeling that he was trying to curry favor with Hellion Wuzi. Is that so? Hellion Wuzi frowned slightly. Her cold face clearly had a trace of doubt, but more than that, she felt that the other party was plotting something. Why should I believe you? Even if what you said is true, I don't want to have a friend like you. Senior Sister Fei, I've misjudged you. You approached me and tried to rope me in just to please him, right? Humph. From now on, I don't have a friend like you. Hellion. Fei Lina was shocked. Senior Sister, you're a slave of their clan, I'm doing this for your own good. Don't speak. Hellion Wuzi transmitted her voice. Hellion Wuzi. I, Shimin Feng, swear to the heavens, I'm serious. Shimin Feng's face turned green, obviously on the verge of exploding. Including his subordinates, he was already rubbing his fists and rubbing his palms. As long as the order was given, they would definitely fight. But what these followers didn't expect was that Shimin Feng actually suppressed the anger in his heart and stared at Hellion Wuzi again. Whether it's true or not, it's none of my business. Also, don't have any ideas about Yu, Sister Shua, and Huan Lele in the future. Is there a need to say this? In the past, I didn't know Qin Hao, Brother Chen. Now, I already know that you're Brother Chen's Dao companions, how could I have any ideas about you? You. What did you say? Hellion Wuzi was stunned. Chapter 5:11. Xia Yu, who was blocked by Fei Lina's mountain-like body, was also stunned. Fei Lina was also stunned. Scram! And at this time, without any warning, an angry shout rang out. Chen Hao, who wanted to see what medicine was buried in Shimin Feng's gourd, finally couldn't hold it in. It had to be said that Chen Hao was disgusted, he wanted to vomit, he really wanted to vomit. Fuck, if Chen Hao was really Shimin Feng's friend and didn't know the fanaticism and infatuation that blossomed in Shimin Feng's eyes when he saw him, then it would be fine. But Chen Hao already knew last time that this guy's sexual orientation was absolutely abnormal to an unimaginable degree, how could he endure it? Ah! Hellion Wuzi, Xia Yu, and Fei Lina looked at Chen Hao, who suddenly stood out and flipped out. They didn't know what was going on, and their brains couldn't wrap their heads around it. And Shimin Feng, who was clearly being pointed at and scolded by Chen Hao, stared straight at Chen Hao, as if he didn't hear Chen Hao's scolding. His eyes revealed a strong surprise and fanaticism from the bottom of his heart, that feeling, it was as if he suddenly saw his what's his name person. Hurry up and scram with me. Brother Chen. I finally, scram. Okay, don't be angry, I'll scram. Shimin Feng looked at Chen Hao with a flushed face. Especially when he saw Chen Hao's cold and emotionless face, he was so excited that his voice trembled. Where was the domineering hedonistic disciple? True love, this was the true love that he yearned for even in his dreams, the true love that made his soul tremble and unable to extricate himself. Chen Hao's words were like a curse that made him unconditionally carry out. He couldn't bear, to disobey Chen Hao in the slightest. Boss. The faces of Shimin Feng's followers burned. Especially when they saw the gazes of the people around them, they felt even more ashamed. Just a moment ago, they were still arrogant, domineering, and insufferably arrogant, but now their boss was like a docile pug in front of Chen Hao. As his underlings, they naturally felt ashamed. They couldn't help it, they really couldn't help it. They wanted to remind Shimin Feng, who seemed to be possessed. Get lost. Brother Chen told us to scram, didn't you hear him? Get out of here. Shimin Feng said sternly. As he spoke, his eyes were still fixed on Chen Hao. In the end, he abruptly turned his head and left with his group of followers. This scene confused everyone. They did not understand what was going on and were shocked. This was especially true for the surrounding cultivators who knew Chen Hao's identity. They were all guessing who Chen Hao was, or perhaps he was the disciple of some powerful figure. After all, not everyone could understand something that could only be understood but not explained in words. Brother Chen Hao, you. Fei Lina looked at Chen Hao in confusion. How do you know him? Hellion Wuzi also raised her small face and asked. How, what's going on? Cough cough. That's a bitch. I met her the last time I came to the second world and beat her up. She's probably afraid of me now. Chen Hao was already prepared to make a move. It was just that he didn't expect Shimin Feng to have this kind of attitude. This made Chen Hao even more speechless, even more disgusted, and even more nauseous. He would rather that guy get angry and have a great battle with him than have this kind of ending. This was like a nimble fly, unable to be swatted, but destined to buzz by your ear. It doesn't make sense. Brother Chen, although your combat strength surpasses your realm, but Shimin Feng is a guy who fears nothing. Especially in this second world, he's even more so. How is this possible? Fei Lina said. Who knows what's going on? Alright, it's almost our turn. Chen Hao resisted the goosebumps all over his body and changed the topic. Interesting. The typical playboy from the Shimin family is actually so obedient to him. This doesn't make sense. There's no reason. In the crowd, a girl who had restrained her aura and looked like a girl next door had a trace of surprise and ridicule in her eyes. She stared at Chen Hao's back and thought to herself. After stepping into the human celestial stage, his improvement is indeed beyond my imagination, but it's still not enough. In the initial stage of the human celestial stage, his winning rate is at most 60% in a short period of time. Although physical body, talent, and unique skills are important, combat skills are also important. Maybe after a period of training and experience, his winning rate can reach 90%. There's hope, but I can't put all my hopes on him. Pay attention to his battle situation. If there's any news, send it to me immediately. The girl sent a message. The girl was obviously standing there, but strangely, she didn't attract much attention. Her departure was even more casual and quiet. When it was Chen Hao and the other two's turn, they directly handed their wealth cards to the staff. It was no different from swiping a card on Earth. However, the fees here were directly deducted according to the actual consumption when the cultivators came out. Different levels of the arena had different charging standards. However, watching the competition wasn't limited by the cultivation stage. For example, the human celestial stage was divided into 3 levels, the initial stage, the middle stage, and the late stage. But after entering the arena, watching the competition wasn't limited by the 3 levels, except that cultivators above the Earth celestial stage couldn't watch the competition. But if they wanted to fight, the high-level cultivators couldn't challenge the low-level cultivators. This was the basic principle. The competition of the 2 aces should be over there. Let's go and have a look. After entering the arena, Chen Hao felt a strong fighting spirit, which far overshadowed the surrounding arenas, coming from the core area. Many cultivators were also flocking in one direction. This caused Chen Hao, who loved to fight to the bone, to have a strong desire to do battle. Chen Hao even had a strong desire to conquer this place. Not only because of the Infinity Ancestors' request, but also because of his inner desire to become a powerhouse. Since stepping foot into the world of cultivation until now, Chen Hao had experienced countless duels all along the way, and the only things that truly allowed Chen Hao to feel satisfied were duels and arenas. No matter how one looked at it, a battle with an expert was the most tempering, the most hot-blooded, and the most satisfying thing for Chen Hao. In the past, his only regret was that he couldn't really let loose. Now, the second world made up for this regret. In this world, there were no rules. You could really fight without any scruples. Come on, don't look. Aren't they just 2 beauties? It's about to start. This is the peak competition of the human celestial stage. Let's go. Shit. What a strong fighting spirit. No wonder they are the powerhouses ranked 13th and 26th in the human celestial stage. Their fighting spirit alone has covered the entire arena. Let's go, it's about to start. Let's go all out. 100 crystals it is. This time, we have to go in and experience it. In the fast-moving crowd, many people were talking as they walked. 100 crystals. Is it so expensive to experience their competition? Chen Hao asked in surprise. According to the information he had learned, the competition of the 3 stages of the human celestial stage only cost 10 celestial core crystals to enter the arena and experience the real aura of the battle. With their fame, they come to the arena to make money. Otherwise, they would just start the competition directly. They wouldn't wait for so many of us to watch. Chapter 5:12. Earn money. You mean, the arena will give them dividends? Chen Hao asked. Yes. But only those who are very famous have the right to do so. The amount of dividends they get has nothing to do with the number of spectators. Only those who spend money to enter the arena will get dividends. The more people there are, the more they get. Xia Yuyu said. She and Helian Wuzi had been to the arena many times in the past few years. They were familiar with the situation here. That's not bad. Chen Hao squinted his eyes and 2 rays of light flashed. The task given to him by the Infinity Ancestor was to make a name for himself in the shortest time possible so that he could attract the attention of higher-level people. And this arena was undoubtedly Chen Hao's first step. If he couldn't even do this well, then there was no need to talk about the future of the Infinity Star. Shall we go in and take a look? Chen Hao asked. You can go by yourself. We won't go. We can just watch a battle of this level from outside. Helian Wuzi said. In fact, if they had enough celestial core crystals, they would be happy to enter the arena to experience it personally. But their wealth cards didn't have many celestial core crystals. All right. After Chen Hao finished speaking, his mind moved. As if he was playing a game, the selection interface of the wealth card number appeared in his mind. After confirming to enter to view, his entire person disappeared from Helian Wuzi and Xia Yuyu's side. Phew! What a strong fighting spirit! In an instant, Chen Hao appeared in the arena. At this moment, a terrifying pressure pressed on Chen Hao. Although I felt their fighting spirit outside the arena was very strong, it's still far from what I'm feeling now. No wonder it costs 100 celestial core crystals. Just sensing this fighting spirit is beneficial to me. Let alone sensing the power of any of their moves. I'll go between them and take a look. Thinking of this, Chen Hao took a step forward. However, apart from Chen Hao himself, no one could see his existence. In fact, apart from the 2 experts, all the cultivators who entered the arena to watch were invisible. Otherwise, who knew how many people were there at this time? How could the 2 experts still fight? Amazing! Chen Hao was both surprised and excited. As he got closer and closer to the 2 experts, the terrifying battle intent and pressure became stronger and stronger. Even though the 2 of them were only Blessed Realm elites, the feeling they gave Chen Hao was that they were even stronger than the super powerful elites at the peak of the later stage of the Earth's celestial realm in the infinite planet. Just based on this aura alone, Chen Hao had to admit that it was not something he could compare to. Compared to other powerful planets, the Wuji star is indeed much weaker. Especially this kind of true genius. However, if I advance to the later stage of the human immortal realm, I think I won't be any weaker than them. Chen Hao spent 100 immortal essence crystals in order to clearly understand the gap between himself and a true genius. He also wanted to truly experience just how strong the battle skills of these influential figures were. A new world, a new beginning. Only by recognizing one's own strength could one make the correct judgment. Zui Hongchen is a powerhouse who ranks 13th in the human immortal realm. Zhuge Ming is 26th. However, Zhuge Ming's killing intent seems to be stronger. Cough, cough. Is this possible? Chen Hao was in the middle of the battle intent between the 2 experts. He felt his body was as heavy as lead. If it was a real battle, Chen Hao was afraid that he could not exert 50% of his strength. However, because Chen Hao's soul power had reached the peak of the Earth's celestial realm, he could bear it completely. When Chen Hao was approaching Zhuge Ming step by step to carefully sense his killing intent, Chen Hao found that he could approach Zhuge Ming without any restrictions. This surprised Chen Hao a little. If it's a beautiful woman, wouldn't it attract more people? Chen Hao tried to walk half a foot in front of Zhuge Ming. When he could even see the hair on Zhuge Ming's face clearly, he was like air. He did not exist for Zhuge Ming. In fact, no matter if it was a beautiful woman or a handsome guy, it would attract more people. Just like now, Zui Hongqian and Zhuge Ming were the top figures in the human immortal realm. They had gone through many cruel battles in the arena to achieve their current status. How many admirers did they have? Just like now, except for Qin Hao, many female cultivators who were in love were using this special space to admire and even fantasize about their idols. Zhuge Ming, if I were you, I would challenge Zhang Wei and rank 15th. You still have a chance. Challenging me is courting death. 4 pairs of eyes stared at each other, and under the intense battle intent, Qi exploded from time to time. Finally, under everyone's anticipation, Drunken Red Dust spoke first. At this moment, their fighting intent and aura had soared to the limit. Courting death? Ha, ha. If I didn't have absolute confidence, do you think I would challenge you? Let me tell you, the top 10 is my target. You are just one of my stepping stones. As for Zhang Wei, who ranks 15th, sorry, I am not in the mood to play with too many people. Arrogant. I will let you know the gap between you and me. Cut the crap, show me your moves. Boom. Vigorous, pure, and berserk energy burst out from Drunken Red Dust's body as he spoke. Rumble, the air, which had been compressed to the limit, was like a bomb, producing countless air explosions. Humph. Clang. Meteor sword storm. Hiss, 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 hiss. Zhuge Ming made his move without hesitation. He drew his sword and thrust it out in one smooth motion. In an instant, streaks of dazzling, sharp, and horrifying sword light covered Zui Hongqian like locusts that blotted out the sky and covered the earth. Child's play. Wind palm. Whoosh, rumble, 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 a gust of wind blew. Zui Hongqian's body was floating. His palms formed many mysterious runes, which were circling around his body. They contained endless mystery, blocking, dragging and detonating the sword radiance, Tai Chi, perfect circle. When Zui Hongqian made his move, Qin Hao widened his eyes in surprise. This was the first time in his life that he had seen someone use a consummate skill similar to that of Earth. However, when Qin Hao came to Zui Hongqian's side and felt the mysterious aura, he knew that this was not Tai Chi. It was just that it was similar to Tai Chi under the law of using force. It was not inferior to Tai Chi. The only difference was that Zui Hongqian only destroyed, not borrowed force. Violent, hesitant, not gentle, sword dragon break. Chi. In the sky full of sword rain, Zhuge Ming became one with his sword. The real killer move suddenly appeared. Ah! Qin Hao, who was sensing the mystery of Zui Hongqian's palm, was suddenly shocked. His pupils shrank, and he stared at the long black dragon that was roaring towards him. It was so condensed and sharp that Qin Hao could not imagine it. What was even more shocking was its speed. Boom. Qin Hao felt his vision go black, and an earth-shattering explosion sounded in his ears. Qin Hao was sure that if he was not a spectator, but a match, he would have lost. Moreover, he would lose without any suspense, and he would not even have time to react. Is this the difference between us? After regaining his consciousness, Qin Hao did not follow anyone else. Instead, he stared at the 2 people who were in a crazy battle and was shocked. Chapter 5:13. Whether it's physique, true core strength, or combat skills. I can't compare with those in the same realm on the Wuji star, or even those in the Earth celestial stage. The gap is so big. Even with my special ability, it's impossible for me to challenge someone at a higher realm. When he was on the Wuji star, except for Dongfang Han, Qin Hao had never encountered a real threat. Even those who were one realm higher than him were no match for him, let alone those in the same realm. But now, there was always someone better than you. Even though Qin Hao had learned a thing or two from the Wuji ancestor and heavenly master Yuanru, he was still shocked when he saw it with his own eyes. He's just a top genius in the Asianing star. What about the vast universe galaxy or even this universe? It seems I still have a long way to go. Hiss, fuck, he's too strong, phew. I can't bear it, damn, I wasted 100 pills, what a pity. I only watched my idol for a short while. Although I want to hold on, the pain is unbearable. After a while, when the battle between Zui Hongqian and Zhuge Ming engulfed the entire arena, many figures appeared out of thin air in the spectator area. There was no doubt that these people could not withstand the terrifying pressure, or that it was beyond their psychological tolerance, so they came out on their own. Old Wang, what do you think? I was right, wasn't I? You'll definitely lose this time, haha. What's the hurry? He's only half out, just wait and see. Let alone 15 minutes, all the cultivators in the human celestial stage, except for those at the top of the rankings, have run away in 5 minutes. Zhuge Ming has completed the death level task, so he's greatly improved. If I'm not mistaken, I'm afraid he hasn't even used 60% of his strength. If that's the case, I wouldn't dare to bet with you. Is there something fishy about Zui Hongqian? What do you think? I've lost to you every time before, but this time you'll definitely lose. If you want to blame someone, then blame yourself for not knowing the information. Then bet with me. If you agree to bet, then you must accept your loss. Don't even think about backing out. If Zui Hongqian didn't hide his strength, I wouldn't bet with you. In a one-sided battle, how much fighting spirit, pressure, and ultimate skills can one unleash? Don't be complacent. Other than the few little fellows you've designated, as long as one of them can last until the end of the battle, I'll win. Who knows, maybe a dark horse will appear. How can there be so many dark horses? Other than the few top geniuses that I've designated, the others are just here to see the real battle between the two of them, and there are also love-struck girls. It would be strange if someone could last until the end of the battle. Really? Old Lon, do you really think that I would bet with you if I wasn't confident? Think about how you lost in the past. The two old men in charge of monitoring the arena stared at the data and battle screen in front of them. The content of their bet was very simple. That was, before the end of the battle, the cultivators who entered the arena to personally experience the battle, except for a few designated experts, would not be able to bear the pain and would choose to withdraw from the arena to watch in advance. After all, even though the cultivators who were watching the battle were invisible, they would still be able to withstand all of the pressure, energy, and attacks that came into contact with them. Those who had a weaker state of mind would not be able to bear the pain as long as it exceeded their limits. Otherwise, not only would it not benefit them, but it would also damage their state of mind. The reality was just as one of them had predicted. In just 2 minutes, more than half of the cultivators who had entered the arena had withdrawn from the arena. However, the other old man was not nervous at all. He was still very calm. Boom. 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 Sword light and palm shadows covered every corner of the arena. Zui Hongqian and Zhuge Ming were getting more and more shocked as the battle went on. At this moment, both of them realized that their opponent had been hiding his strength. Originally, Zhuge Ming thought that he would definitely be able to win with an overwhelming advantage and end the battle quickly. Moreover, he could continue to challenge those who were ranked higher without revealing his true strength. It was not impossible for him to make it to the top 3. But now, the terrifying combat strength that Zui Hongqian had displayed was not something that he could compare to before. Swoosh. 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 More and more spectators withdrew from the arena. The further back they were, the paler their faces were, and the more they broke out in cold sweat. It was obvious that they had all reached their limits. Even some of the cultivators who were aware of Zui Hongqian and Zhuge Ming's strength widened their eyes in shock. This included some of the top-ranked experts who had entered the arena secretly to watch the battle. Other than those few little fellows, there are only 200 left. It has only been 5 minutes, and both of them seem to have exerted 70% of their strength. A lower-grade sacred artifact, TSK, Old Wang. Wait till you win before you gloat. Soon, very soon. These 200 people are obviously in danger. They won't be able to hold on for more than a few breaths. Ha! The two who had placed their bets looked at a screen that showed all the cultivators who had entered the arena to watch the battle. One was extremely proud of his victory, while the other was still calm, but his eyes were fixed on the screen. Only they could see the screen. Everyone, including the cultivators who had entered the arena to watch the battle, could see the screen. At this moment, Qinhao had tried to stand between the two of them and was hit by their attacks for the first time. He did not dare to let his guard down. To Qinhao, 100 celestial core crystals was not a small amount. If he was hit a few more times, his mind would be muddled. He did not want to waste such a scene of a battle between experts. Therefore, at this moment, Qinhao seemed to be in a difficult position. He dodged left and right to avoid the attacks of Zui Hengqian and Zhuge Ming. As time went by, just as the old man had expected, the number of spectators decreased rapidly. This made the old man, who was confident of his victory, even more proud. He did not notice Qinhao in a difficult position at all. However, the old man, who was obviously in a disadvantageous situation, was staring at the screen. Strictly speaking, he was staring at Qinhao in the crowd. Little fellow, you can't let me down. A low-grade divine artifact is not a small amount to me. If I lose, the old man will definitely kill you 100 times. Under the old man's calm appearance, it was obvious that he was not really calm. The reason why he agreed to gamble with the other old man was entirely because at the beginning, he saw the scene of Qinhao being pierced through by Zhuge Ming's sword dragon break, and at that time, the other old man was staring at him to lure him into gambling and did not notice. This was the only reason he dared to bet. But now, Qinhao's performance was indeed a little too difficult. He was not as strong as he had imagined. Chapter 5:14. The old man even thought that Qinhao was just dodging and had not sensed the battle between Zhuge Ming and Zhuge Hengqian. Otherwise, he would have suffered some of the aftermath of the battle, right? With 0 battle records and such a clumsy performance, the old man was basically certain that not only was this Qinhao's first time in the arena, he also did not have any experience. Otherwise, why would he waste 100 celestial core power crystals to fight in the arena? However, Qinhao's dodging would allow him to last longer, which was what the old man was happy to see. As the two of them were forced to reveal their trump cards, the battle became more and more intense. The number of spectators in the arena was getting faster and faster. Ha! 18, only 18 left. No, it's 17 now. Old Wang, you will lose soon, don't be so smug. Did you see that little guy called Qinhao? The others might not be able to do it, but he will definitely last until the end. Qinhao. The guy who is hiding. I saw him long ago. Are you kidding me? This guy is just trying to hide. When Zhuge Mingli and Drunken Red Dust reach their full power, he won't even be able to withstand the aftershocks. Is that so? Just wait and see. The old man called Old Wang did not intend to reveal that he had seen Qinhao withstanding the sword dragon break. Although Zhuge Ming and Zhuge Hengqian had only used 50% to 60% of their strength, Qinhao had withstood all of it. Old Wang believed that as long as Qinhao continued to hide, even if Zhuge Ming and Zhuge Hengqian used all of their strength to unleash their ultimate skills, the aftermath would not be able to force Qinhao out of the arena. 16. 15. Zhuge Hengqian, I have underestimated you. I thought 70% of my strength would be enough to defeat you. Now, it seems like I have to use all of my strength. Show me your true strength. Qi. While the other old man was proudly counting the number of people that were gradually decreasing, Zhuge Ming, who was in the middle of the battle, suddenly drifted and moved 3 kilometers away. After a short period of condensing, he finally raised his power to 100%. So what if you use all of your strength? You will still lose. Boom. Qi. Qi. Ah, fuck, dodge. In an instant, the invisible onlookers could no longer bear the sudden increase in the large-scale attacks of the two. One by one, they disappeared from the ring in a panic. Rumble. Bang. Chen Hao, who was moving quickly, was finally hit by the shockwaves from their attacks. So this is their strongest power. He is indeed very strong. The immense pressure, the intense pain from the attack, the momentary chaos in his mind, all sorts of uncomfortable feelings invaded Chen Hao's brain nerves. However, at this moment, Chen Hao was no longer as shocked as he was at the beginning. Instead, it was replaced by excitement for the exciting battle between the two. He had persisted until now because he wanted to witness their true strength and ultimate techniques. And now, it had finally begun. This brat is still not going down. He probably won't be able to take another hit. No, he will definitely be able to persevere until the end. Old Wang, who was staring at Chen Hao, was rather determined at this moment. Impossible. However, Old Wang, are you familiar with Chen Hao? Why did you think he would be able to do it from the beginning? Although it has something to do with him being able to persevere until now, he still didn't withdraw after enduring the strongest shockwaves. His temperament is quite good. I don't know him. I've never heard of him. Didn't you see that his battle record is 0? Then why do you think he would be able to do it? Haha. Are you worried? I told you before, don't be complacent too early. Will I tell you that at the beginning, you were staring at me and tempting me to bet, but didn't you see a very exciting scene? Ha ha ha. Old Lan, a low-grade divine weapon, TSK. Fuck. What did you see? Don't worry, the battle will end in at most 2 minutes. At that time, you can see the video recording. Chen Hao did not know that he, who was invisible and invisible, would attract the attention of the surveillance personnel. Of course, even if he knew, Chen Hao would not care. He spent money to enter this place to learn. No matter what, he would not miss this opportunity. And now, Chen Hao deeply felt that it was worth it. If he did not watch this battle, Chen Hao would have started the challenge journey directly. But now, he made a new decision. After all, his wealth card only had 10,000 immortal core crystals. How many battles could he fight? What was his winning rate? He would probably use it up in a few days. Moreover, he still had to stay on the Wuji Silver Wings for more than half a year. There was no way he could earn immortal core crystals. Of course, it did not mean that he could not earn immortal core crystals in the second world. After all, it was equivalent to a second world in the real world. There were many business opportunities, such as taverns, secret auction houses, restaurants, and some kind of entertainment industry that men liked very much. There were also entertainment industries that flirtatious women liked. Compared to the real world, it only lacked industries such as equipment, weapons, magic treasure materials, and so on. However, Chen Hao had no interest in doing those things. As for the unique art auction, it was even more impossible. Firstly, the unique art that he had learned in this world was not qualified to be auctioned at all. Secondly, Chen Hao would definitely not auction the 3,000 great arts that were qualified to be auctioned. Even if there were many that were not useful to him, he would not sell them. Because that was his biggest secret, and he did not want to be the target of public criticism. Die. Crack. Rumble. Zhuge Ming finally raised his power to the peak, and at the same time, he released his most powerful sword. Tens of thousands of sword radiances condensed into thick thunderbolts that were like the punishment of heaven. The thunderbolts were dazzling and emitted a terrifying aura that could destroy heaven and earth. In an instant, it engulfed the entire arena, blocking any possible escape route for Zui Hongchen. Humph! Break it! Zui Hongchen's eyes shone with fanaticism, and he proudly released his palm. The vast and vigorous palm power turned into layers of pitch-black palm shadows, which were like small black holes, crazily rotating and mysterious as if they were going to devour everything in the world. Tens of thousands of sword radiances, layers of palm shadows. A sword against a palm. The thunderbolts exploded, and the black holes swallowed. Some of the palm shadows were shattered, and some of the sword radiances disappeared. At this moment, even the few geniuses that Lao Lan had selected, when faced with the unavoidable thunderbolts and black holes, all of them retreated from the arena in horror. However, Chen Hao, who looked like he was in a mess, was now bursting with intense battle intent and excitement. If he was not a bystander, the two old men would definitely think that he was going to fight with Zhuge Ming and Zui Hongqian. Fortunately, to the two parties, Chen Hao was like air, and no matter what he did, he would not affect them. Crack crack. Rumble rumble, the terrifying energy collided, and along with the earth-shattering explosion, it spread to the entire arena. Countless sword radiances bombarded Zui Hongqian, and at the same time, countless palm shadows hit Zhuge Ming hard. In just a few seconds, there was only one spectator left in the arena, Chen Hao. Including the geniuses that Lao Lan had selected, they all disappeared from the arena. No one had expected Zhuge Ming and Zui Hongqian's strength to be so terrifying. The two old men did not expect this. Impossible. Impossible, how could this Chen Hao withstand it? How could he withstand it? Lao Lan's expression was extremely gloomy and sad, and at the same time, he stared at Chen Hao, who was moving around in the midst of the terrifying attacks. Cough cough. Old Lan, to be honest, I didn't expect this either. I didn't expect Zhuge Ming and Zui Hongqian to be so strong, and I didn't expect this Chen Hao. Ha ha ha. He has such a good character, he is blessed by the heavens. Old Wang said in shock. In fact, when he saw that Zhuge Ming and Zui Hongqian's last attack was so powerful, he already thought that he was going to lose. However, he did not expect that when everyone had retreated from the arena, Chen Hao, a newborn calf, was still tenaciously holding on to his position. Regardless of whether it was Old Lan or Old Wang, the only feeling they had right now was that life was going up and down way too quickly. Chi. Zui Hongqian and Zhuge Ming let out two roars filled with unwillingness. Unfortunately, neither of them could stop the arrival of death. They both turned into white light and disappeared from the arena. Ding! The crisp sound of the system notification resounded around the arena. Zhuge Ming and Zui Hongqian tied. They are so strong. They are so damn strong. I did not expect that their strength had increased to such a level. I'm afraid they have the strength to enter the top 10 or even the top 5. Yes, no matter what, they will definitely enter the top 10. At least there is a 50% chance. Of course, the premise is that the top 10 experts have not made any amazing progress. Let's wait and see. There are only 2 months left before the new ranking list is determined. During this period, the arena will be very lively. Yes, I don't ask for much. I just want to enter the top 100. If I enter the top 100, I will be able to enter the subbing sect. Stop dreaming. You can't even defeat me. You want to enter the top 100? The subbing sect is the #1 sect on the subbing planet. Any disciple who enters the subbing sect can reach the peak of the heaven celestial stage in the future. Most of them can reach the half-step zenith heaven realm. The outstanding ones can definitely enter the ranks of the Daluo Jingxian. Moreover, they are all experts in the same realm. When all of the surrounding cultivators started to discuss spiritedly, Helian Wuzi, Xia Yuyu, and Fei Lina all opened their eyes wide and looked at Chen Hao, who had just appeared beside them, with faces full of shock. Fei Lina, in particular, was indescribably shocked. She had also entered the arena to watch, but she could not withstand the terrifying pressure and withdrew from the arena a minute ago. However, Chen Hao had persevered until the end. Chapter 5:15. Chen Hao, I didn't expect your temperament to be so good. I dare to guarantee that the number of people who can persevere until the end of the battle can be counted on one hand. Without a rock-solid state of mind, one simply can't withstand the attacks and pressure of the two people. Persevering in there will instead cause one's state of mind to be injured. And you, it seems, you still haven't reached your limit? The tall and majestic Fei Lina looked down at Chen Hao. Judging purely from the aura, Chen Hao was merely on par with her. This was also the reason why she wanted to stand with Chen Hao from the start. Firstly, it was to test whether her good friend's Dao partner was really worthy of Hellion Wuzi. Secondly, it was to train herself. But now it seemed, at least, in this second world, the chances of her defeating Chen Hao were very, very small. It's nothing. My movement technique is better, so if it's purely dodging, it's not a big problem. That's 100 immortal origin crystals, no matter what, I have to persevere until the end, right? Chen Hao said with a smile. At this moment, Chen Hao also noticed that everyone around him was staring at him in astonishment. Obviously, him being able to persevere until the end had attracted the attention of many people. This was actually something he didn't expect. Let's go to other places to take a look. Hellion Wuzi and Xia Yuyu also knew that it wasn't appropriate for them to continue staying here. The two of them naturally held on to Chen Hao's arm. With a flash of their figures, they quickly headed towards the other direction of the arena. Fei Lina also quickly followed. For the entire day, Chen Hao was watching the competition. However, he didn't enter any other arena. On the contrary, Hellion Wuzi, Xia Yuyu, and Fei Lina would spend 10 immortal origin crystals to enter the arena when they saw a battle that was beneficial to them. Seeing that the time limit was almost 24 hours, Chen Hao brought the two girls and directly left the arena. How, why are you just watching? Don't you want to challenge? After stepping out of the arena, Xia Yuyu couldn't help but ask. Initially, I wanted to challenge him, but, after watching the match between Drunken Red Dust and Zhuge Ming, I realized that it would be a waste to challenge him now. What do you mean? Hellion Wuzi frowned slightly. I have to reach the medium stage of the human celestial stage before I start. Aren't you in the everlasting silver wings now? If you can't sense the existence of the law of heaven and earth in the outside world, you won't be able to resonate with it. Even if you can comprehend it in the second world, it will be very difficult for you to break through to the intermediate stage of the human immortal realm. What I lack is only the true essence. The small barrier in the human celestial stage is nothing for me. I don't need to communicate with the law of heaven and earth. Chen Hao was full of confidence. His divine punishment, which was far more powerful than his peers, had given him an unimaginable harvest. He could clearly feel that he could reach the medium stage of the human celestial stage even in the Silver Wing battleship. He's out. Yes. I also feel that it's a little strange. According to his character, he should have started the challenge immediately. He only stayed for a day, and now he's gone back to his residence. Master, he's a femme fatale. He has too many women. Do you think it's Hellion Wuzi and the others? If this goes on, I'm afraid it will affect him, and we don't have much time left. Outside the arena, Heavenly Lord Yuanru, who was at the heaven celestial stage, concealed his aura. He was wrapped up like a big black rice dumpling, and his original appearance could not be seen at all. The person who was talking to him, whom he called Master, was naturally the Infinity Ancestor. Yes. This is a problem. It will more or less affect him. It's not appropriate for me to show up. You can use my name to talk to Hellion Wuzi, Xia Yuyu, and the others about this. Everything has to be focused on cultivation. Now is not the time for them to be sentimental. Wait a moment. Oh. After a while, the Infinity Ancestor said again, his wealth card has consumed 105 celestial core crystals in the arena. His record is still 0. 5 celestial core crystals is the cost of entering the arena for a day. 100 celestial core crystals is for watching the battle between Zui Hongqian and Zhuge Ming. It should be. He didn't continue to stay, it should be because of this battle. Oh, I hope he can perform well in this half a year. He definitely won't be able to catch up with the rankings this time. Alright. If there's any other news, send it to me immediately. Yes, Master. After disconnecting from the Infinity Ancestor, Heavenly Lord Yuanru let out a long sigh of relief. Although he had been the Infinity Ancestor's disciple for thousands of years, and was also a top figure in the Infinity Star, he was still respectful in front of his master. He felt like a young boy. Phew. Master values little junior brother so much more than I expected. I'm afraid even big senior brother didn't get so much attention from Master. Am I jealous? Ha! Little junior brother's talent has surpassed big senior brother, and now he's Master's only hope. This should be the case. Heavenly Lord Yuanru glanced at the low-level arena that only cultivators below the human celestial stage could enter, and his figure disappeared in a flash. Phew! In the infinity silverwing in the chaotic space, Chen Hao let out a long sigh and opened his eyes. At this moment, his mind hadn't left the second world. He was simply multitasking. This was a very simple matter for any cultivator. He was comprehending the laws of heaven and earth in the cultivation room of his residence in the second world. At the same time, he was about to begin the cultivation of his true body. Old God. Yes. How do you feel? Old God asked eagerly. Old God, treasure hunter, and the others couldn't enter the second world with Chen Hao. After all, only a strand of Chen Hao's divine consciousness had entered. As for the condensed true body of the second world, it was only Chen Hao himself. None of the special existences in his mind could appear. It's all right. This world is more exciting than I imagined. With my current stage and strength, I should be among the top geniuses on the Ying planet. However, in the vast universe galaxy, it's hard to say. Chen Hao recounted the battle between Zui Hengqian and Zhuge Ming in the second world. That seems to be the case now. However, you're different from them. So you're not going to challenge them now? Yes, I only have 10,000 celestial core crystals. Even if I can fight for a while, I won't earn much. I want to advance to the medium human celestial stage before I start. I'll have to rely on you to replenish the energy of heaven and earth. Oh, that's fine. However, Tianfa asked us to fuse this time. Although your mind world has been completely transformed, and the panther fruit, spirit tree, and spirit spring can condense celestial core crystals, the quality is a little low, and the speed of condensation is a little slow. It's not a problem to maintain your usual recovery needs, but I'm afraid it won't meet your needs if you want to refine your true origin and break through the barrier. I see. How much do you think I need? And you, how long will it take you to get what I need? Cough, cough. Now you can't absorb the spiritual chi of heaven and earth. Even if you use the spirit spring itself, it will take you 5 or 6 months. If you can connect to the spiritual chi of heaven and earth, it will take you at most 2 months to break through the barrier. Chen Hao frowned slightly. 5 or 6 months was too long. Forget it, I'll ask senior brother Yuanru. At most, I'll make a deal with him. After saying that, Chen Hao glanced at the beautiful sisters who had entered the state of cultivation. Then he stood up quietly and walked directly to the control room. Junior brother, what's the matter? Heavenly Venerable Yuanru was also multitasking. In the second world, he was still monitoring his junior brother's every move. At this time, he sensed Chen Hao's arrival in the control room. He asked in surprise. More or less, he had a guilty conscience. Of course, he was more curious about why Chen Hao was looking for him. There's something. I want to borrow some celestial core crystals from you, senior brother. I can also exchange something with you. What do you think? No problem, but, what do you need celestial core crystals for now? For cultivation. I don't want to waste half a year. To tell you the truth, I've already comprehended the barrier of the medium stage of the human celestial stage. All I need is to refine my true origin. Now, I can use primordial crystal stones to recover. If I want to break through the barrier, it's too far away. So, I can only ask for your help. Cough, cough. Awesome. Why didn't you say so earlier? If I had known, I would have given you celestial core crystals. Don't talk about borrowing. If Master knows about this, he will definitely reward you even more. Ha! I have 3,000 here, you can use them first. Heavenly Venerable Yuanru said generously. 3,000 celestial core crystals was not a small amount for him. Of course, this referred to the cash he had. In the vast universe galaxy, no one would carry that many celestial core crystals with them. Under normal circumstances, it was enough for a period of time. The rest was stored in the wealth card and could earn a certain amount of interest. When it was time to use it, he could go to any wealth center to get it. It was a very simple matter, not much different from the banks on Earth. Okay, thank you, senior brother. When I have the money, I will definitely return it to you. First, I will give you something as interest. Hee hee. No need to be so polite. What are you doing? Heavenly Venerable Yuanru waved his hand and said. Halfway through, he stared at the thing that appeared in Qinhao's hand, full of curiosity. I don't know what it is. When I was training in the Limitless Star, I happened to pick it up. Although the material is not precious, the ancient aura it emits seems to contain the most original heavenly Tao law. Maybe it will be of some use to you, cough, cough. This is more than just useful. Junior brother, the value of this thing is not just 3,000 celestial core crystals. This is something that can only be obtained in the primordial space of a planet. At least it can be auctioned for 10,000 celestial core crystals. It can't be, right? Hearing Heavenly Venerable Yuanru's words, Qinhao was surprised. He had long known that the stone obtained from the 9 Nether Cold Pond was not trash even in the vast universe galaxy, but he didn't think it was worth much. How is it not? You also said that the ancient aura in it is the most original heavenly Tao law. Even the simplest kind of origin energy is extremely precious. Of course, what is precious is not the energy itself, but the mystery of the origin. More than 6,000 words. Recently, Dark Mountain's update has not been good, but I still ask for everyone's support. The monthly vote is too ugly, can you give me one? Chapter 5:16. After Heavenly Venerate Yuanru's explanation, Qinhao finally understood how precious the profundity of origin was. Every planet had a primordial space, but unless one was the creator of the planet or a true expert who surpassed the creator's comprehension of the heavenly Tao, no one could enter the primordial space. Just like the Wuji star's 9 Nether Frost Pond, even the Wuji star ancestor could not enter. Firstly, the Wuji star ancestor's mark of life was in the Wuji star ancestor's river of life and was restricted by the heavenly Tao. Secondly, the Wuji star ancestor's comprehension of the heavenly Tao was unable to surpass the creator's. However, Qinhao, a special existence that did not belong to the Wuji star, had entered the primordial space with his superb comprehension and great opportunity. Everything in the primordial space, not to mention the most precious stone that Qinhao had taken out, contained the mysteries of the origin. This represented the founder of the infinite star's highest understanding of the law of heaven. Even the simplest law of heaven was related to the mysteries of the origin. Otherwise, it would be impossible to condense a real planet that could exist for eternity. However, this already did not have much meaning to Qinhao. The reason why Qinhao did not realize the value of the profundity of origin was because he had already comprehended it. Otherwise, he would not have been able to enter the 9 Nether Frost Pond. In Qinhao's opinion, this was just a basic heavenly Tao law. There was nothing special about it. But now, Qinhao knew that the reason why he could use the profundity of his power to the extreme and challenge those of a higher level was related to the depth of his comprehension of the heavenly Tao law. After Qinhao stuffed the stone into Heavenly Venerate Yuanru's hands, he returned to the cabin. After informing the sisters, Qinhao condensed a mysterious sealing boundary around himself and immersed himself in cultivation. Immortal Origin Crystal, Tempering True Origin. He has to cultivate even here. Qinhao's actions surprised many people. They were more or less confused. In particular, Bailey Ningbing, who hated Qinhao to the core, stared at Qinhao fiercely. Ever since she was young, it had always been others who tried to curry favor with and flatter her. She had always been a high and mighty existence. Among her peers, and even those older than her, she was the most outstanding. Adding on her identity as the granddaughter of the Limitless Devil Palace's palace master, she had developed an arrogant and prideful personality. But Qinhao actually treated her like a worn-out shoe, and completely disregarded her. That kind of coldness and indifference had seriously hurt her self-esteem. How was she any worse than Qinhao's woman? She was no worse than any of them. She'd always felt that so long as she was willing to compromise, then Qinhao would surely be eager to be her Dao companion and obediently assist her in comprehending the undying sword Dao. So long as she comprehended the undying sword Dao, then she would be able to cultivate a true ultimate technique. Even on the Asianing planet, it was definitely a top-notch unique skill. But I will definitely let you know the consequences of trampling on my dignity. No matter what, I will comprehend the true Tao law. No matter what. Just you wait. One day, I will make you regret it. With my looks and talent, what kind of Tao partner can't I find? Limitless Star, you are indeed a top genius. For now, even I can't compare to you. But one day, I will surpass you. I will surpass everyone, including the forefather. Bailey Ningbing's eyes flashed with coldness. Chi. The second world, Yang City, elementary training grounds. Within an independent space, Bailey Ningbing was sweating profusely. Her alluring body was twisting and turning as she stabbed her opponent. And this opponent's appearance was Qinhao. It was so lifelike that there was almost no difference between him and Qinhao. The only difference was the look in his eyes. His eyes were a little dull, and compared to Qinhao, they were a little less lively. This was the power of the second world. As long as you had enough wealth, you could simulate any opponent. Of course, the person you wanted to simulate must have appeared in the second world. Otherwise, it would be impossible to cook a meal without rice. Moreover, the simulated person had a certain benefit. Every time they were simulated, they could take a tenth of the commission. In other words, every time Bailey Ningbing simulated Qinhao, Qinhao would receive a tenth of the cost. This was the rule of the second world. Die. I want you dead. Chi. Rumble. An incomparably sharp sword light containing the aura of the undying way of the sword suddenly shot out from Qinhao's hand. Bailey Ningbing's originally disheveled figure turned into a streak of white light again, disappearing from the training grounds. This was the 5th time. Every time, it would cost 1,000 immortal origin crystals. This was undoubtedly extremely expensive for a newcomer who had just stepped into the second world. Even Qinhao couldn't afford it for the time being. However, Bailey Ningbing didn't seem to care. Not long after she disappeared, she reappeared in the training grounds. It had to be said that as the most beloved granddaughter of the Limitless Demon Palace Master, the granddaughter he placed his hopes on, the Limitless Demon Palace Master was very willing to nurture her. In comparison, the wealth card that the Limitless Demon Ancestor gave to Qinhao was much more shabby. It wasn't that the Limitless Demon Ancestor was stingy. It was just that everyone had their own way of nurturing. The Limitless Demon Ancestor didn't want Qinhao to be a master of wealth. Although it couldn't be said to be spoiling things by pulling up seedlings, it would lose a very precious quality and the source of motivation for Qinhao to work hard. Losing this alone was nothing. What was really lost was some great opportunities and great fortune that should have appeared in the training. This was the key. After all, when one didn't have to worry about wealth, they wouldn't have the heart to take risks and do missions to earn wealth. And great opportunities and great luck often existed in dangerous missions. You are indeed very, very strong. However, I believe that the real you is definitely not a match for this simulated you. As long as I can defeat him, I can definitely defeat you. Bailey Ningbing gritted her teeth and spent another 1,000 immortal origin crystals to simulate Qinhao. Just as Bailey Ningbing said, any simulated cultivator would basically be stronger than the real cultivator in terms of combat power. The reason was very simple. The simulated cultivator's physical body, true yuan, comprehension of the heavenly Tao, mental state, soul, and other aspects were completely the same as the real cultivator. The only difference was that the simulated cultivator would follow the supreme laws of the second world to simulate the strongest combat power under these conditions. Therefore, as long as Bailey Ningbing could defeat this fake Chen Hao, she would be able to defeat the real Chen Hao without any accidents. Chen Hao completely didn't know that Bailey Ningbing had become his child of wealth. Even though each 1/10 was only 100 celestial origin crystals, the number of times was still quite considerable. Especially to Chen Hao, who was relatively poor now, it was even more precious. Chen Hao also didn't know that in another elementary independent training ground, someone had simulated him. Brother Chen, although you can't really hear it, I still have to say. I, like you. There has never been anyone who can make me like, so much. Chi. Ah. Shiman Feng's disgusting words and his gaze towards Chen Hao. If Chen Hao heard or saw this, he would probably have the heart to kill himself. What kind of fucking masterpiece was this? The legendary arrow of Cupid, at least get a woman, right? It was fine even if she was a little ugly, at least she didn't give him goosebumps. Luckily, when Shiman Feng wanted to touch the simulated Chen Hao, he was killed by a sword and turned into a ray of white light with a scream. This was also the law of the second world. You could simulate any opponent, but if you wanted to fulfill some kind of filthy wish by simulating an opponent, sorry, you couldn't do it. The only thing you could do was to fight. Either you die or I die in a fight. Otherwise, how terrible would it be? Who knew how many shameless fellows would spend money to satisfy their filthy needs? Shiman Feng soon appeared again. The feeling of death made his face pale, but his eyes were shining with a bright and excited light. I can die for you, die for you. Not to mention once, even if it's 100 times, 1,000 times, I'll do it. One day, you will understand that I am your true love. I believe that I will definitely be able to move you. I didn't expect that your talent and combat strength would be so strong. I will definitely work hard. I will become an expert who can stand shoulder to shoulder with you. Hiss. Chen Hao appeared again and launched an extremely powerful attack mercilessly and coldly. Once again, he easily ended Shiman Feng's life. One was vengeful, the other was farce. The two of them had coincidentally become Chen Hao's money givers. For Chen Hao, this was really a windfall. Even he didn't know what was going on, but the celestial core crystals in his wealth card kept increasing. Master, junior brother is amazing. When Chen Hao began to focus on refining his true core strength, in the second world, Heavenly Venerable Yuanru, who was wrapped up like a black dumpling, called the Infinity Ancestor again. What's the matter? The Infinity Ancestor's voice was still ethereal. Junior brother said that he has already comprehended the barrier of the medium stage of the human celestial stage. He just borrowed some celestial core crystals from me. He wants to break through to the medium stage of the human celestial stage first. If I'm not wrong, I'm afraid he will only start to challenge in the arena after breaking through to the medium stage. What? He has already comprehended the barrier. Are you sure? This junior brother shouldn't be lying to me, right? After all, if he doesn't comprehend the barrier in the silver wing, it's useless to just refine his true core strength. This is indeed strange. After all, he just went through the heavenly punishment and consolidated his cultivation base. Keep an eye on him and report to me if there's any news. Yes. After cutting off the connection with Heavenly Venerable Yuanru, a figure disappeared from the huge palace. When he reappeared, he was also in the cultivation field. However, this figure entered the advanced cultivation field. Chapter 5:17. Simulated Chen Hao, the Wuji Star. Swoosh. In an instant, Chen Hao's figure appeared in the independent training ground. Little guy, it seems like I have to test your real combat power. Although you can't surpass this simulated version of you, at least you can let me know your ultimate combat power more accurately. Swoosh. The simulated Chen Hao did not care about anything. Even the Wuji ancestor was just a dual opponent in front of him. Why would he listen to the Wuji ancestor's nagging? He directly drew his sword coldly. Not bad. Swift and fierce, continuous attack after attack. Although it was not a threat to an expert like the Wuji ancestor, the Wuji ancestor praised it secretly. At least the attack power contained in it was not inferior to the top geniuses in the same realm. Suppressing his own power, the Wuji ancestor began to fight with Qin Hao. An hour later, the Infinity ancestor left the cultivation field with a mixture of surprise and joy in his eyes. The great Tao is shapeless, 3,000 forms. Tao follows nature, everything is Tao. Inside the infinite silver wings, Qin Hao's mind resounded with the chanting of the evening drum and morning bell. The outline of the great Tao flowed into his mind word by word, like a clear spring that nourished every cell in his body. At the same time, the celestial origin crystals were being refined and absorbed by Qin Hao at a shocking speed. They surged violently in his meridians. Qin Hao's aura became more and more majestic as the energy in his body increased. Qin Hao felt that his body was inflated like a balloon, expanding and expanding infinitely. The stars became smaller and smaller. It was as though as long as Qin Hao wanted to, he could casually smash a star into pieces. The feeling of power had expanded to an unbelievable level. At this moment, he was the supreme divine truth that could crush everything and dominate the life and death of all things. Of course, this was only a kind of artistic conception. It was a kind of artistic conception that was produced when one was immersed in an ethereal state of cultivation. In short, this feeling was wonderful. It was so wonderful that any cultivator would be immersed in it and be unable to extricate themselves. Qin Hao was no exception. It was a pity that such a scene could not be maintained for too long. When the energy around Qin Hao's body was condensed to the limit, the comfortable feeling turned into an excruciating pain that almost made his body explode. Qin Hao knew that the time to break through the barrier of the mid-stage human immortal stage was coming. Endure. Endure, endure, endure. Qin Hao clenched his teeth and endured. He continued to temper himself crazily. He was very clear that the only way to break through the barrier was to condense to his true limit, to the limit that he could not bear. Only at that time would he have the greatest chance of success in one go. Otherwise, he might fail. Once he failed, it would mean that he would have to start all over again. This kind of result was not what Qin Hao wanted. Not only was it a waste of immortal origin crystals, it was also a waste of time. Break for me. Qi. Qi. Finally, when Qin Hao could no longer bear it, the meridians in his body suddenly reversed, and the surging true essence, at this moment, was like a river bursting its banks, howling like a fierce tiger leaving its cage, or a flood dragon emerging from the sea, violently charging towards the barrier. Rumble. Rumble. There were two explosions, one in Qin Hao's dantian, and the other in the cabin of the infinite silver wings. At this moment, an extremely powerful energy wave gushed out of Qin Hao's body without restraint, directly shattering the barrier that he had condensed. At the same time, Qin Hao, who was comprehending the law of heaven in the second world, also directly disappeared from the second world uncontrollably, his mind completely condensing into his body. Ah, condense. Qi. Condense. Condense for me. Qi. Qi. Just when all the cultivators in the cabin were awakened by the sudden explosion of Qin Hao, and many people screamed, Holy Master Yuanru, who had been paying attention to Qin Hao, suddenly appeared and attacked him as fast as lightning. However, even Holy Master Yuanru had underestimated how powerful the energy that gushed out of Qin Hao's body was. One seal was not enough, so Holy Master Yuanru had to increase his strength again, and he had to release 2 seals consecutively to completely confine the energy of the explosion. Everyone, including the sisters who were awakened, stared at Qin Hao in horror. The medium stage of the human celestial stage, he reached the medium stage of the human celestial stage in this place. That's too fast. After the human celestial stage, even if it's a small stage, without enough talent and comprehension, it will take a long time to break through. No wonder he's called the #1 genius of the infinite star. He has just stepped into the human celestial stage, and he can break through to the medium stage of the human celestial stage in this place that is completely isolated from the outside world. He must have comprehended the barrier of the medium stage of the human celestial stage long ago. That's right, there's no comparison, phew. Amidst the buzz of discussion, Chin Hao let out a long sigh of relief and opened his eyes. He scanned the crowd embarrassedly and said, sorry, I didn't expect to cause such a big commotion. I'm sorry for disturbing everyone. Ha. It's okay. Congratulations, Brother Chin. Brother Chin, congratulations. Humph. While almost everyone was congratulating Chin Hao with envy, Bailey Ningbing glared at Chin Hao and snorted coldly. Jealousy, hatred, how could she do this? Even the original Chin Hao could completely trample her when he simulated it. What if it was the current Chin Hao? Heavenly Venerable Yuanru looked at Chin Hao and did not know what to say. In fact, he was also speechless, not to mention the others. Even he, who was at the heavenly celestial stage, could only be envious of this little junior brother of his. How long had it been since Chin Hao started refining his true yuan? Only 10 days. 10 days, just 10 days. If it was only because the refining speed was fast, he could still accept it. However, the explosion of energy that Chin Hao had just unleashed was clearly beyond his expectations. How many immortal essence crystals did he need to refine? Or rather, how many immortal essence crystals did Chin Hao absorb? He could not help but be shocked by the combination of these 2 points. He did not dare to say that it was unprecedented, but at least he had never seen anyone who could refine so many immortal essence crystals in such a short time. Junior brother, come with me. Heavenly Venerable Yuanru directly pulled Chin Hao's hand and disappeared from the cabin. Heavenly Venerable Yuanru sensed Chin Hao's restrained aura and could not help but ask after they arrived at the control room, Junior brother, how's the improvement? About 2 to 3 times. After consolidating my realm, I should be able to improve a little to 4 times. Chin Hao said with a smile. 2 to 3 times, and you're still saying it's not bad? 4 times after consolidating your realm, and you're still saying it's a little? Heavenly Venerable Yuanru felt that he had been dealt a heavy blow by this little junior brother. This was just an improvement of a small realm in the human celestial stage. Such a terrifying improvement of a small realm, and he still said it's a little. How was he going to let others live? Senior brother, that. Chin Hao scratched his head awkwardly and said, can you lend me some more immortal essence crystals? Cough cough. You've used up all of them. Almost, but I still want to refine. It's definitely not enough. You still want to refine? You've already advanced to the intermediate human celestial stage, you just need to consolidate your realm. A few immortal essence crystals should be enough. Chin Hao looked at Heavenly Venerable Yuanru's expression and felt a little embarrassed. However, if he did not say it out loud, there was no reason for him to borrow immortal essence crystals. Chin Hao really did not want to hurt him. Therefore, although he was embarrassed, he still had to say it. Scratching his head, Chin Hao said softly, Senior brother, that, I think I've also comprehended the barrier to the advanced human celestial stage, WH. What? Heavenly Venerable Yuanru jumped to his feet. His eyes widened and his hands grabbed Chin Hao's shoulders nervously. Cough cough. Senior brother, calm down. I know it's a little, but it's not too strange. After all, when I triggered the heavenly punishment, my soul realm was already half a step away from the heaven celestial stage. Moreover, the heavenly punishment I triggered was way beyond my soul realm. Moreover, I resisted it head-on. Comprehending the barrier to the advanced human celestial stage is really not a big deal, not a big deal. How is this not a big deal? After reaching the human celestial stage, let alone the Wuji star, even in the entire vast universe galaxy, I've never heard of anyone who could directly comprehend the barrier to the intermediate and advanced human celestial stages at the initial human celestial stage. That's 2 stages. It's like you're separated by a wall and you're touching another wall. It's completely illogical. Senior brother, I'm afraid you've never heard of this before. I'm sure I'm not the only one in this situation. Chin Hao said. Well. Anyway, this is great news, super great news. I admit that I've been completely defeated by your freakish junior brother. Then, this was 7,000 immortal origin crystals, which was also the only cash senior brother had. It should be enough for you to break through the barrier. If it's not enough, I'll have to borrow it from those earthly celestials and return it to them in Yang City. It should be enough. Thank you, senior brother, Chinhao said. You can practice here in case it's too shocking. I'll help you condense the seal. Okay. After informing the sisters, Chinhao began to practice again in the control room. This time, he didn't even go to the second world. He wholeheartedly focused on refining his true essence. To be honest, this was something that Chinhao hadn't expected. Originally, both he and the old god estimated that it would take at least 1 or 2 months to break through the barrier of the middle stage. However, it only took him 10 days to do so. The reason was very simple. Chinhao's understanding of the outline of the Great Tao had deepened, which increased his speed of refining the celestial core crystals by several times. Moreover, what surprised Chinhao even more was that in this space where the law of heaven was sealed, his mind seemed to be connected with heaven and earth, penetrating this layer of space. This was the real reason why Chinhao had comprehended the barrier of the late-stage human immortal stage. As for what he had told Heavenly Master Yuanru, it was completely a bluff. Chapter 518. No matter how good a person's comprehension was, it was impossible for him to comprehend another barrier in the human celestial stage. No one had ever done that before, and no one would do that in the future. As Lord Yuanru said, it was impossible to comprehend another barrier through a barrier, unless the first barrier was pierced through. However, when Chinhao broke through the barrier of the middle stage, he had connected heaven and earth with the primary outline of the Great Path. Moreover, he had comprehended the barrier of the late stage with the help of his half-step heaven celestial stage soul state and superb comprehension. Anyway, it was absolutely against the natural order. After Chinhao entered the state of cultivation, Lord Yuanru sent a message to the Infinity Ancestor in the second world as soon as possible and reported everything about Chinhao. This time, the Infinity Ancestor was truly shocked to the extreme. He reached the middle stage in such a short time, and he comprehended the barrier of the late stage. The Infinity Ancestor was still in disbelief after being repeatedly affirmed by Lord Yuanru. Even the Infinity Ancestor had never heard of such a thing, let alone Lord Yuanru. However, Lord Yuanru had no guts or reason to lie. It was obviously the truth. It seems that he won't start the challenge in the arena until he reaches the late stage of the human celestial stage. If so, the wealth card I gave him is far from enough. In the arena, a cultivator at the late stage of the human celestial stage would usually bet 100 celestial core crystals per match. For Chinhao, who had improved his stage quickly, what he lacked the most was combat skills and experience. It was almost certain that he would lose more than he would win. Well, give him another 10,000. Whether he can make it to the Asianing planet depends on himself, The Infinity Ancestor had a very high status in the wealth center. He could directly contact the customer service and transfer the money in time. Moreover, he was the one who gave Chinhao the anonymous wealth card, so he naturally knew the account number. However, when the customer service staff finished transferring the money and reported the balance, he was slightly surprised. It was 23,400 celestial core crystals. I simulated him once in the cultivation field. 1/10 of it is 100 celestial core crystals. How could it be so much more? Did many people imitate him? The Infinity Ancestor frowned. That must be it. Who would have thought that this brat would have such an enemy when he just entered the second world? Looks like it should be related to those little girls. The Limitless Ancestor had guessed a little right. It was indeed because of Helian Wuzi and the others that someone had imitated Chinhao. However, the real enemy of Chinhao had nothing to do with Helian Wuzi and the others. Huan, Lele, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with Hao Hao? When Lengning Huan and Lengning Lu reappeared in the second world, they immediately contacted Helian Wuzi and Xia Yuyu. The two of them were clearly anxious and worried. After all, how could Chinhao and the two girls suddenly disappear from the second world? Moreover, they didn't even give them a heads up. As one of the owners of this place, if Chin Hao and the two sisters suddenly disappeared from the cultivation room, they would have received a notification. How could he not be worried? In particular, Chin Hao and the others were flying in the chaotic space. If they encountered any accidents, it would be disastrous. Don't worry, it's a good thing. Brother Hao had just broken through to the intermediate human celestial stage. When Brother Hao broke through to the intermediate human celestial stage, his aura was too strong. It detonated the protective barrier that he had condensed. Both of us sensed the dangerous aura and left the second world. In fact, all the cultivators in the Silver Wing cabin were shocked by Chin Hao's terrifying breakthrough and left the second world. That scared us to death. How advanced so quickly? Why isn't he coming in? Brother Hao. He seems to have comprehended the barrier to the advanced human celestial stage again. No way. This is really abnormal. Hee. Brother Hao always surprises us. Who would have thought? He wants us to tell you that before he advances to the advanced human celestial stage, he won't come in. You don't have to wait for him. If you want to do a mission, go ahead and do it. After the four girls finished talking, the sisters did not use the teleportation portal. Instead, they quickly flew back to their residence. They did not have any wealth cards. Even if they did, they would not be willing to waste celestial metacrystals on the teleportation portal. Imitate Wuji Star Chin Hao. Bailey Ningbing entered the second world again. After arriving at the elementary cultivation room, she immediately gave the order. Swoosh! The lifelike Chin Hao directly appeared. Sensing Chin Hao's aura and staring at Chin Hao's cold face, Bailey Ningbing gnashed her teeth in hatred. Her anger for no reason rose more and more fiercely. He hasn't come in after advancing to the intermediate human celestial stage. Otherwise, he wouldn't be like this. Chi! The moment Chin Hao drew his sword, Bailey Ningbing also moved crazily. After being ravaged for more than 10 times in a row, her improvement was also very considerable. At the very least, it was already very unlikely for the simulated Chin Hao to win in 2 minutes. Strictly speaking, this improvement could be called godly speed. However, it was just a matter of money. At the same time, one had to admit that Bailey Ningbing was a ruthless person. How could an ordinary person withstand the pain of being truly killed? More than 10 times in a row. This is the last time. I have no reason to keep giving you money. Tomorrow is the moment I step into the arena. My name, Bailey Ningbing, will definitely rise quickly. Bailey Ningbing's eyes were burning with madness. In her mind, it was as if she could see herself being cheered by thousands of people in the arena. Of course, she didn't blindly believe that her strength would allow her to dominate the arena. Her biggest advantage was her appearance and potential. The cultivators of the Wuji Star were known for their handsome men and beautiful women, and she was one of the best in the Wuji Star. Her goal was simple. She wanted to make friends with some truly powerful people who coveted her beauty. She wanted to take back her dignity from Chin Hao at all costs. In the past, Bailey Ningbing wouldn't have bothered to do this. It was all because of Chin Hao. When a woman went crazy, she was far scarier than a man. Especially a femme fatale. Everyone, we have entered a relatively safe area. Now, you can see the chaotic space filled with complicated energy and all kinds of mysteries. Hiss. Heavenly Lord Yuanru stepped out of the control room when the Silver Wing Infinity had been sailing for a month. As he spoke, windows suddenly opened on both sides of the Silver Wing Infinity's roof, revealing a layer of transparent material that looked like glass. They could clearly see the outside world. The chaotic space is a mysterious space. It's more mysterious and majestic than the space of Wuji Star and the entire vast universe galaxy. Many powerful ultimate techniques and heavenly Tao laws were comprehended and created by cultivators in the chaotic space. When you step into the heavenly immortal realm and can travel freely in the chaotic space, you will naturally understand its mystery and majesty. Vast universe galaxy is just one of the more powerful galaxies in the universe. In the universe, there are countless galaxies that have been discovered and those that have yet to be discovered. No one can give an accurate number of how many there are. But, the chaotic space is the medium that connects all the galaxies and planets. If we didn't have the chaotic space and flew in the original space, it wouldn't be as simple as half a year for us to reach the Yang planet. It would take us decades or even centuries. Heavenly Lord Yuanru gazed at the magnificent chaotic space and said, "Well, now you are free to look around. Although you can't enter it, you can still learn a thing or two about its mysteries. If you're lucky and have good comprehension, you might be able to comprehend something useful. That would be a great deal." Ha! Heavenly Lord Yuanru, can you comprehend it just by looking at it? Of course. Although the probability is very small, it is not impossible. In the past, my eldest senior brother was in the Silver Wing, and it was also when he stepped out of the Wuji star for the first time that he comprehended the Heavenly Dragon star-shattering fist. Ha, that's a supreme technique of the human immortal realm. Work hard. However, there's no need to force it. Not only does it require comprehension, it also requires luck. If youngest junior brother didn't cultivate at this time, I wonder if he could comprehend anything from the chaotic space. After saying that, Heavenly Lord Yuanru returned to the control room. He glanced at Qin Hao, who was completely immersed in cultivation, and shook his head slightly. I think too much. Why do I always compare youngest junior brother with eldest senior brother? Youngest junior brother has surpassed eldest senior brother in all aspects, but if he wants to comprehend it at this time, he still needs a great opportunity. Eldest senior brother only comprehended it when he saw stars colliding and collapsing. In the cabin, basically everyone was multitasking. A strand of mind was immersed in the second world, while the real body was fully focused on the endless chaotic space. Profound, vast, mysterious, from time to time, bright starlight flashed by. Sometimes it was one, sometimes it was several, and sometimes it was a continuous meteor shower. Although no sound could be heard, and no energy storm in the chaotic space could be felt, everyone knew that the bright blooming time and time again was the fall of a star. Humans, let alone ordinary people, even celestial immortals and Daluo Jinxian, so what? Compared to the mysterious chaotic space, they were all small and insignificant. If stars could fall, then what about humans? Nothing could be truly eternal. Phew! In the cabin, Bailey Ning Bing let out a long sigh and opened her eyes. The moment she opened her eyes, she ignored everyone's gaze and looked directly at the control room. Then, the corner of her mouth curled up, brimming with pride and disdain. It's only been a few days. How many young talents want to befriend me? What are you compared to them? What right do you have to trample on my dignity and ignore my existence? Unfortunately, none of them are qualified. What I want is a true powerhouse, a powerhouse with a strong background. I still need to raise my level and strength. Only by raising my level can I befriend people of a higher level. The chaotic space, the evolution of stars, contains the eternal truth of immortality and indestructibility. Although the hope is not great, but before I reach celestial immortal, this is my only chance. The second world will end for now. Bailey Ning Bing's eyes became misty and distant, her mind completely immersed in observing the chaotic space. Chapter 519. The infinite silver wings shuttled through the chaotic space. Nobody knew that in a place far, far away, a piece of flying magical equipment that was 10 times larger than the infinite silver wings was hovering in the chaotic space quietly, drifting randomly with the space storms. Every once in a while, it would return to its original position, as if it were waiting for something. Inside the cabin, there were 50 Earth celestial experts, 100 human celestial experts, and 2 heavenly celestial experts. Although they looked human, their figures and appearances were very different from the cultivators of the Wuji star. Senior brother, Master sent the 2 of us here to kill a chicken with a butcher's knife. I can handle Heavenly Venerable Yuanru alone, why bother you, senior brother? You can't say that. Heavenly Venerable Yuenru has never liked to fight with others, but if you underestimate him, I'm afraid you'll be at a disadvantage. Think about it, which of Heavenly Venerable Yuenru's 4 disciples is simple? Heavenly Venerable Yuenru must have a hidden trump card, but he's low-key and never exposed it. Even I have to be careful when facing him. Senior brother, aren't you underestimating yourself too much? Before coming here, I simulated Heavenly Venerable Yuenru and won easily. Don't forget. A simulated opponent can never simulate the real hidden power. Heavenly Venerable Yuenru is basically replacing Patriarch Wuji to control the Wuji star. How can he be as simple as he looks? Moreover, he's been at the peak of the late-stage Heavenly Celestial for over 1,000 years. His combat skills and experience are definitely on par with the simulated one, or even better. Alright, let's wait patiently. The main target this time is not Heavenly Venerable Yuenru. It's easy to defeat him, but it's impossible for the 2 of us to kill him. We just have to kill the target. Cough. Senior brother, about the target, I think Master is making a mountain out of a molehill. It's just a little guy who just stepped into the human celestial stage. How can he turn the Wuji star around in just 50 years? That's impossible, right? That's not Patriarch Wuji's target. According to Master's investigation, that kid's talent is definitely the best on the Wuji star. He's much stronger than us. So what? No matter how strong his talent was, it was nothing compared to those powerful planets that were ranked at the top. I know what you're trying to say. You're just saying that the Infinity Ancestor wants that kid to be valued by someone really important. But that's not very likely. The top forces of the Asianing planet are at best. No, you don't know the situation. According to the information they had gathered, the heavenly punishment he had triggered was the legendary 7-colored heavenly punishment. It covered an area of more than 200,000 li. Most importantly, he was very young. He did not even have 60 years of lifespan. His deeds are even more amazing and full of legends. He's that strong. Yes, many people have verified it. There's absolutely no mistake. Junior brother, it's not that I want to criticize you, but you really need to change your character. Master told us not to underestimate anyone. It was better to be safe than sorry. As long as there was even the slightest possibility, they had to kill it. Master's 10,000 years of painstaking effort must not fall short of success. Most importantly, you often neglect the details. Oh, also, it's not just our planet that's here this time. There's also a strong opponent who's as strong as us. 50 years later, they'll also be our competitors. Ah. Do we have to deal with them too? Why do we have to deal with them? The people who come can't affect the overall situation. Master let us use the Black Hawk just in case there's a conflict between us and them. When the time comes, we'll wait for the opportunity to strike. It's even better if we don't have to do anything. After all, there's someone who's more anxious than us. Hee, at least on the surface. Break. Chi. Inside the control room of the limitless Silver Wing, after another 2 months, Qinhao had finally condensed his true essence to the limit and began his charge. A stronger and more terrifying wave of energy burst out from the seal formed by Heavenly Lord Yuenru. This made Heavenly Lord Yuenru, who was next to him, nervous. He had no choice but to activate his energy frantically to stabilize the seal. The whole process lasted for more than an hour. In the end, it was a success. Phew, the later stage of the human celestial stage. This is the power of the later stage of the human celestial stage. It's strong, very strong. It's stronger than I imagined. Qinhao let out a long sigh. He was very excited as he sensed the power in his body. Now, my strength is at least 25 times stronger than when I was at the initial stage of the human celestial stage. When Qinhao stepped into the medium stage of the human celestial stage, his strength was 5 times stronger than when he was at the initial stage of the human celestial stage. When he stepped into the later stage of the human celestial stage, his strength was 5 times stronger than when he was at the middle stage of the human celestial stage. That was 25 times. And this was just his strength. What about his final combat strength? Even stronger. If Heavenly Lord Yuanru knew that Qin Hao was hiding the real number from him, he would be ashamed. Phew. It's finally done. If it wasn't good, my old bones would have fallen apart. An hour. A whole hour. It's just the barrier of the later stage of the human celestial stage. How much stronger is it than when I was at the later stage of the human celestial stage? Heavenly Lord Yuanru looked at Qin Hao, who had calmed down and was full of energy. He should have been shocked, and excited, but he was already a little numb. He had been stimulated so many times that he was a little used to it. Little junior brother's specific combat strength can only be known after a battle. But I estimate that it's no less than the initial stage of the heaven celestial stage, and that's according to the upper class of the Asianing planet. Senior brother, thank you very much. Just as Heavenly Lord Yuanru was still estimating Qin Hao's real strength, Qin Hao opened his eyes. His face was full of excitement as he stood up. How much have you improved? Hee hee. Not much, Crash, wow, no way. Just as Qin Hao was a little proud of himself and a little unwilling to reveal his real strength so as not to be too discouraging, there was a sudden uproar and exclamation in the control room. What's going on? Heavenly Lord Yuanru did not have time to ask Qin Hao. He rushed out of the control room in a flash. Qin Hao was also a little curious and hurriedly followed him out. As soon as he stepped into the control room, a strange, mysterious, and dense fluctuation appeared clearly in Qin Hao's perception. Qin Hao could not help but look at the source of the fluctuation. It was Bailey Ningbing, whom Qin Hao had disdained. Lawless, thoughtless, formless. Epiphany. At that moment, Heavenly Lord Yuanru's voice, which was almost a whisper, reached Qin Hao's ears. Epiphany. Qin Hao was a little dumbfounded. Epiphany, Berserk Demon State, any one of these was a legendary rare opportunity. It was something that every cultivator dreamed of. Once one entered the state of Epiphany, they would be able to link up with the heavens and earth. They would not be restricted by any laws and would comprehend the laws of heaven and earth at an unimaginable speed. Whether it was the soul or the state of mind, they would be greatly improved. There was a barrier. Break. Break? I'll break it for you again. Everyone, silence. Immediately enter the state of Epiphany. Bailey Ningbing has already entered the state of Epiphany. This is a great opportunity that can only be encountered by chance. It's not only good for her, but also for everyone present. Withdraw from the second world and feel with all your heart. In fact, when Heavenly Lord Yuanru did not speak, some astute and knowledgeable cultivators had already immersed themselves in the state of Epiphany. As for those cultivators who had only heard of Epiphany but never had the chance to see it, when they heard Heavenly Lord Yuanru's words, they also rushed to immerse themselves in the state of Epiphany. Including Qin Hao. Including Heavenly Lord Yuanru and Heaven Immortal. The entire Silver Wing airship fell into silence. Only a dense aura shrouded everyone. The endless laws of the world seemed to penetrate through the void and drifted around them. Whether they could see and feel it or not depended on their own comprehension and luck. Without a doubt, at this moment, if they were not in the sealed Silver Wing but in the vast universe galaxy, Bailey Ningbing would definitely be able to trigger a terrifying amount of heaven and earth energy fluctuations. But now, there were only laws of heaven and earth that transcended the constraints of space. Even so, the benefits were still enormous. 5 minutes. 10 minutes. 15 minutes. Bailey Ningbing's epiphany was still ongoing, and the dense aura around her became denser and denser. No one knew what Bailey Ningbing had comprehended, but her face, neck, hands, and all the exposed skin began to emit a faint golden glow. This golden light contained an eternal aura. Although it was very, very weak, so weak that no one could sense it, of course, at this moment, no one could sense it. I comprehended it. I actually comprehended it. Finally, after close to half an hour, the mist emitted by Bailey Ningbing finally disappeared. She opened her eyes that were shining with a faint golden light. She was so excited that she couldn't control herself. Hee hee hee, a bell-like laughter burst out from Bailey Ningbing's mouth. Her laughter was unbridled, arrogant, and excited. Her laughter was like the branches of a flower trembling in the wind. Everyone also opened their eyes and looked at Bailey Ningbing. There was envy, jealousy, exclamation, and indifference, all sorts of complex emotions, swirling in everyone's heart. As she smiled, Bailey Ningbing looked at Chin Hao, who had already appeared in the cabin, to her surprise. She was still smiling, but her eyes were filled with ridicule, provocation, and an indescribable emotion that no one could understand. Not even she herself. And under this gaze, the only one who was so indifferent that he did not even look at Bailey Ningbing was Chin Hao. He leisurely walked to the side of the sisters, sat down, took out the spirit helmet, and put it on. His movements were smooth and calm. Yes, very calm. But it was this calmness that, in Bailey Ningbing's eyes, became the strongest slap to Chin Hao's face. It made Bailey Ningbing very angry, so angry that she wanted to directly kill Chin Hao. How could this be? Shouldn't he be shocked? Shouldn't he be envious? That's right, that's a slap to his face. Look, I'm such an outstanding person, yet you ignored me. You should be regretting it now, right? Unfortunately, she thought she could see his expression, but she did not see a single one. Chapter 520. Phew. I've advanced 2 stages in a row. In the human celestial stage, except for the top masters, there should be no problem, right? Chin Hao appeared in the second world and sensed the aura of the surrounding cultivators. He compared it with himself again and thought to himself. At different heights, one would have different horizons, and they would be able to understand themselves more clearly. Before you reached the next stage, you would never know how strong the power of the next stage was. Let's get familiar with the current power first. Hiss. Chin Hao went directly to the teleportation device. Request to challenge Arena 301, 100 Celestial Core Crystals. Stepping into the arena again, he was already at the later stage of the human celestial stage. He couldn't challenge low-level cultivators, so he could only challenge the third area. Beep, 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 Wuji Star Chin Hao, later stage of the human celestial stage, 0 battle record, 100 celestial core crystals. Do you accept? Wuji Star. 0 battle record. 100 celestial core crystals to challenge me. It's not even enough for tuition. Rejected. Request to challenge Arena 302, rejected. Request to challenge Arena 303, rejected. After being rejected again and again, 100 times in a row, all the cultivators at the later stage of the human celestial stage were challenged. Chin Hao shook his head gloomily. It seems that no one is interested in 100 celestial core crystals. Of course, more importantly, they don't want to waste a battle opportunity. In the arena, there were 2 ways to obtain the arena champion. For example, there were 100 arenas for the later stage of the human celestial stage. 50 of them were automatically selected by the system of the second world according to yesterday's battle record. These were cultivators who won 10 battles yesterday. The other 50 could be purchased directly with 1,000 celestial core crystals. Both types of arena champions had the opportunity to fight 10 battles. No matter who won or lost, it was 10 consecutive battles. The opponent and the bet were set by oneself. In fact, all the cultivators only had 10 battles in the arena every day. Therefore, there were only a few cultivators who wanted to make money from the arena. Most of them wanted to train themselves, especially the young ones. Therefore, choosing opponents with similar battle records and strength was the most important. Chin Hao's record was 0, which meant that he was a rookie. No one could judge his strength. However, when people heard about the Limitless Star, they thought that he was at the later stage of the human celestial stage. He had just started the arena, so they thought that Chin Hao was a rookie. Moreover, Chin Hao's stingy bet of 100 celestial core crystals, so who would waste a chance to fight with him? 100 stones was a big number for cultivators at the initial stage of the human celestial stage. But for cultivators at the later stage of the human celestial stage, it was too ordinary. I can only raise the stakes. Alas, you can't blame me for being too ruthless. After Qinhao thought for a while, the corners of his mouth curled up into an evil smile as he thought to himself. What was this feeling called? Keep a low profile and act tough. I have a record of 0, and I'm a cultivator from the limitless star, which is ranked last among the 1008 planets. Who would think highly of me? However, although Qinhao was not sure that he could win against all 100 arena champions, at least half of them, Qinhao felt that he could win. Well, it was a feeling, not a certainty. After all, he was not even familiar with his own strength after advancing 2 stages in a row. Raise the bet to 1000 crystals. Start the challenge from number 301 again. Wait a minute. Sorry, number 301 blacklisted you. Sorry, number 302, fuck. It can't be, right? I've only challenged once and I've been blacklisted. Qinhao was depressed. If he had known this would happen, he would have used underhanded means from the beginning. Why did he have to be kind? Beep, beep, beep. At this moment, to Qinhao's surprise, there was a communication request. Senior brother, what's the matter? After Qinhao saw that it was Heavenly Venerable Yuanru, he hurriedly answered the call. You're in the arena, right? Yes. It's super depressing. I've just started the challenge and all 100 arena champions have rejected me. Haha. Don't be depressed, this is very normal. Firstly, the cultivators on the Wuji planet follow the rules. For people from other planets, there's nothing worth learning. Secondly, you're in the later stage of the human celestial stage, but your record is still 0. You haven't even participated in a single battle. Everyone thinks that you must be at the bottom of the Wuji planet. Then what should I do? At first, I bet 100 celestial core crystals. It's a little too little. But now that I've raised it to 500, I've been blacklisted. I can't even send in an application. This is normal too. Think about it, how many cultivators are there in the arena? How many arenas are there? There are too many people who have sent in an application. They don't have the time to bargain for you. Also, everyone only has 10 chances a day. No one wants to waste it on you. Alright, that's why I'm looking for you. You'd better leave the second world and re-enter as an early stage human celestial. Air. Is that okay? Of course. You've broken through 2 stages in a row. Although it's a good thing, you've lost the training of the early stage and the middle stage. At least in the arena, you'll lose the recognition of your record. So, when you leave the second world and re-enter, just raise your aura to the early stage human celestial stage. When you re-enter the second world, your cultivation will be limited to the early stage human celestial stage. Many cultivators who don't have a solid foundation use this method to make up for it. Okay. That's good. Thank you for your reminder, I'll do it right away. Swish. After saying that, Qinhao left the second world directly. He had wasted a day's entrance fee and the teleportation fee. But he had no choice. Qinhao, who had been surging with battle intent, didn't want to wait for another day. Condense. After his mind and soul returned, Qinhao condensed his aura again. But this time, he controlled his aura and true core strength to the early stage human celestial stage. It's really amazing. When he re-entered the second world, Qinhao clearly felt that his cultivation had really changed to the early stage human celestial stage. His physique and true core strength were exactly the same. The only thing that couldn't be changed was his comprehension of the law of heaven and earth and the use of his strength. Strictly speaking, this was somewhat unfair. Qinhao could only be regarded as an early stage false human celestial stage. This was like a master whose strength had been sealed. His strength was indeed small, but his knowledge and state of mind were still that of a master. Such a person, under the same level of strength, would definitely display a much higher battle prowess. This time, I'll use money to knock you out. Let's see who still won't accept my challenge. With the previous experience, Chin Hao didn't want to be blacklisted this time. 500 gold coins. I challenge number 101. Sorry, the other party rejected me. No way. The first person Chin Hao was rejected again. Damn it, do you think I'm stupid? If you dare to bet 500 gold coins, you must have a great chance of defeating me. It's not like there are no masters in the Wuji Star, just like Bailey Ningbing. I'll definitely lose if I fight her. Chin Hao didn't know that the first person he challenged was scolding him in his heart. Chapter 521. It doesn't make sense. I'm just a newbie who wants to be trampled on. How could he refuse? Chin Hao couldn't figure it out. I don't believe that no one wants to fight with me. I'll bet 500 yuan on number 102. Number 103. Number 104. Fuck. Number 132. Beep. 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 The champion of number 132 accepts your challenge. Please get ready. Finally, when Chin Hao was about to curse, a pleasant voice came. Phew. Good, good. If I refused all of them, I would have wasted my time today. Let me check the opponent's information first. Chin Hao let out a long sigh of relief. This guy was so eager to fight that he didn't even look at the champion's information before he issued the challenge. Of course, this was also because Chin Hao was very confident in himself. Drunken Mortal, a cultivator from Tianyuan Star, at the early stage of the human celestial stage, 952 wins, 4 losses, 10 draws. What a strong record. He should be an expert, right? Drunken Mortal. This name. Is it related to Drunken Mortal? Drunken Mortal is also from Tianyuan Star. While Chin Hao was surprised by the opponent's record, he also thought of the fight between the two experts. Of course, he remembered Drunken Mortal's information. Maybe they are brothers. The elder brother is an expert, and the younger brother is also an expert in the same stage. Let's go and check it out first. Hiss. Chin Hao's body shook and disappeared on the spot. He rushed toward number 132 arena. Ding. Ding. Boom. Boom. Within the number 132 combat ring, 2 figures were fighting in close quarters in midair. Numerous devastating sword lights were shocking to the extreme. Even Chin Hao, who just rushed over, was able to sense the extremely powerful sword intent from outside the combat ring's seal. This is Drunken Mortal, right? Chin Hao looked at the young man who had the absolute upper hand. He was 70% similar to Drunken Mortal, but his expression was colder. He immediately recognized his opponent's identity. He's really strong. Just from the aura he sensed outside, Chin Hao was sure that the strength of his body and the density of his true essence were definitely stronger than his. Of course, this was referring to Chin Hao, who had lowered his realm. I already have a new challenger, so I won't play with you anymore. Lose. Chi. Just then, Drunken Mortal Dust suddenly went berserk, thrusting out his sword as if the Milky Way had descended from the heavens. Whether it was the power contained within or the might, it had more than doubled in an instant. This caused his opponent, who had seemed to be on par with him, to be directly pierced through, blood spurting wildly as he crashed into the walls of the arena, turning into a ray of white light and disappearing. Die! Cries of surprise rang out from the crowd, and there were even quite a few people shouting Drunken Mortal's name. Obviously, this guy's incredible battle record, cold appearance, and shocking strength had already made him quite famous in the arena. Strong. Very strong indeed. Even Chin Hao could not help but exclaim in admiration. Ha, of course. In the initial stage of the human celestial stage, there are probably not many people who can defeat Drunken Mortal Dust. Brother, you've just arrived, so you've missed 2 exciting matches. 3 matches, 3 deaths, and the opponents were all quite famous. I didn't expect that they were not at the same level as drunken mortal dust. Look, he won just like that. I really don't know how much strength he has hidden. I wonder who his next opponent is. Chen Hao looked at the young cultivator who had taken the initiative to talk to him, smiled slightly, and jumped up directly. Eh. The cultivator who had spoken was a little surprised, because Chen Hao was flying towards the arena. This guy's aura is very strong. I didn't expect that he really came to challenge drunken mortal dust. This is strange. By right, he should not be a nobody. How come I don't know him? In fact, this cultivator had taken the initiative to talk to Chen Hao not only because he was affected by the atmosphere of the competition, but also because he was surprised by the powerful aura emitted by Chen Hao, which was why he wanted to make friends with him. Who is this? I don't know him. But his aura is quite strong. This is the first time I've seen such a handsome young man. Could he be from planet Wuji? That's not possible, right? Planet Wuji's talent is at the bottom of the 1008 stars. It's already rare for Bailey Ningbing to appear, how can there be another genius? This guy's aura definitely belongs to the top geniuses. I just don't know how good his combat skills are. It shouldn't be bad. Otherwise, why would drunken mortal dust accept his challenge? Drunken mortal dust wouldn't take a liking to someone who isn't strong enough, unless he paid a huge sum of money. This possibility isn't high. After all, his aura is very strong. But this kind of person, it's impossible that we don't know him. Yes, I'm also curious about this. We'll know soon. When Chen Hao flew towards the entrance of the arena, the surrounding cultivators started to speculate about Chen Hao's identity. The arena of the second world was different from the real world. Here, the higher the battle results and the stronger the ability, the more cultivators would want to challenge them. Even if they knew that they would lose, they would still do so. This was because battling with experts was the best way to train oneself. It was the most rewarding and the fastest way to improve. It was also because of this that cultivators with high battle results were always successful regardless of whether they were challenging others or being the arena master. Rookies with bad battle results were the ones who were rejected most of the time. Swoosh! When Chen Hao landed at the entrance of the arena, a white light shone down from the door. Instantly, Chen Hao appeared in the arena. At the same time, Chen Hao's name, planet, state, battle results, and other basic information appeared on the giant screen in the arena. This information made all the cultivators except drunken mortal dust stare with their mouths agape. A rookie with 0 battle results, this information really blinded everyone's titanium alloy dog eyes. Luckily, Chen Hao's aura was strong enough. Otherwise, if he challenged drunken mortal dust with 0 battle results, he would be drowned in everyone's saliva. You are Chen Hao of the Unbounded Star? Drunken mortal dust's expression was still cold, but there was a trace of surprise and joy in his eyes. This joy was like a hunter who had seen his prey. Yes. You know me. Now we know each other. Very good. Originally, I agreed to your challenge because of the 500 immortal core crystals. I didn't expect you to be so strong. Even without the 500 immortal core crystals, you are qualified to challenge me. If that's the case, then can we change the bet? Chen Hao smiled. Have you seen anyone give up the meat in their mouth? Stop talking nonsense, let's begin. Boom. As soon as Zui Fanchen finished his words, his aura exploded. At this moment, everyone could clearly feel that compared to the previous 3 matches, drunken mortal dust was much more serious. Because, before the battle even started, his aura was already stronger than any of the previous matches. This also made everyone understand that in drunken mortal dust's heart, this rookie with 0 battle records was stronger than the previous 3 opponents. Alright, originally, I was very grateful that you were the first person to accept my challenge. I didn't want you to lose too much. Since you said so, then don't blame me, hiss. Chen Hao said calmly. As he spoke, his aura and battle intent rose crazily. However, his handsome face was calm and composed. When combined with his words, it was filled with a strong sense of pretentiousness. As for whether he was awesome or stupid, no one could guess. They could only wait and see. However, most people thought that this rookie with 0 battle records was arrogant. Very arrogant. Little Junior is really arrogant. Very good, I like it. As long as Master likes it. However, I don't think Little Junior can win. Among the crowd of onlookers, one was wrapped up like a dumpling, and the other was also wrapped up very tightly. Even her figure and appearance could not be seen at all, because the wide black robe was like a long skirt that dragged on the ground. Even her feet could not be seen. These two were not strangers. They were the two most powerful people on the Wuji star, Patriarch Wuji and Heavenly Master Yuanru. However, their auras were at the initial stage of the human celestial stage. Obviously, in order to enter this low-level arena, both of them had suppressed their cultivation base and re-entered. Their goal was to see how Qin Hao, who had repeatedly shocked them, would perform in the arena. Heavenly Master Yuanru had always been a low-profile person. No matter when, no matter where, he would not show any arrogance. Therefore, he more or less didn't like Qin Hao's arrogant act of pretentiousness. Moreover, Qin Hao's behavior was also a little out of his expectations. His physical strength and true core strength are obviously weaker than Zui Fan Chen's. Although his soul realm and understanding of the law of heaven are higher, he lacks battle experience. In terms of combat skills and experience, he is definitely not as good as Zui Fan Chen, who has experienced countless battles. His chances of winning are at most 10%. However, his physical strength cannot be measured by pure strength, so his chances of winning are increased to 30%. That's right. Little Junior has cultivated the immortal legacy to the extreme. His physical strength is incomparable to ordinary people. Patriarch Wuji smiled slightly and did not refute Heavenly Master Yuanru's words. He continued, Yuanru, I know you think Qin Hao is a little too high profile, but I have to say that he is doing the right thing. Because he knows that his opponent is very strong, he cannot give in terms of momentum. Looking down on his opponent not only allows him to unleash his combat strength, but also gives his opponent a psychological blow. When the time is right, he should be arrogant. This is a psychological cue, a manifestation of confidence, courage, and wisdom. You are lacking in this aspect. Master's teachings are good, very good. Zui Fan Chen, who was about to attack, raised his eyebrows when he heard Qin Hao's words. His eyes flashed fiercely as he said, It seems that you are very confident. In that case, I agree to change the wager, but how about changing it to 1,000 celestial core crystals? I am serious, I don't want you to lose too much. 2,000 crystals. Cough, cough. You think I am joking with you? 3,000 crystals. Cut the crap, do you dare or not? You. Fine. Qin Hao said helplessly. In fact, Qin Hao was very wronged. He was telling the truth and was not acting tough. It was not as the Patriarch Wuji had speculated, but obviously, no one believed him. Qin Hao felt that his physical strength and true core strength were indeed inferior to Zui Fan Chen's. Moreover, after stepping into the human celestial stage, he had not fought to his heart's content. In terms of combat skills and combat experience, Qin Hao did not have a clear understanding of himself. But Qin Hao believed in one thing, and that was his comprehension ability that far surpassed ordinary people, as well as his use of energy source. As long as he was given time, a very short time, he would be able to adapt to his current strength and stage. How could he lose to Zui Fan Chen, who was only slightly stronger than him in terms of strength and did not have an absolute advantage at all? But his good intentions were treated as ill intent by others. Qin Hao could only agree reluctantly. After they reached an agreement, the wager became 3,000 celestial core crystals. 3,000 celestial core crystals, although not a large number, was not a small number for cultivators who spent a lot of money. Especially for cultivators in the initial stage of the human celestial stage, under normal circumstances, the wager would not exceed 100 celestial core crystals. Otherwise, Zui Fanchen would not be willing to give up a chance to be challenged just for 500 celestial core crystals, and accept a challenge from a rookie who had 0 battle records. Chen Hao reluctantly agreed, and in the eyes of the crowd, he became awesome, arrogant, and seemingly arrogant. Even Zui Fanchen's gaze towards Chen Hao changed subtly. Phew. Zui Fanchen took a deep breath. This was his first time betting 3,000 celestial core crystals, and his opponent actually accepted it. At this moment, Zui Fanchen was really a little uneasy. He had to admit that in terms of momentum, Chen Hao had overwhelmed him. This was something he had not expected, however, this uneasy thought just flashed through his mind. He believed in himself, and even more so in his own strength, superb combat skills, and experience. He believed that he could explode with great combat power. Rumble. Rumble. 2 explosions sounded from beneath their feet at the same time. Chen Hao's first battle in the arena, and a battle with 3,000 celestial core crystals, was finally about to begin. At least a few hundred cultivators, including Patriarch Wuji and Heavenly Master Yuanru, paid the price of 10 celestial core crystals to directly enter the arena to spectate the battle. Zui Fanchen raised his strength to 90%, and from afar, he stabbed out with his sword. His majestic and vigorous True Yuan condensed into a brilliant sword light that contained a complex array of runes. It was swift, fierce, and violent, and the man followed the sword. Good move. Clang. The clear sound of the sword rang out from Chen Hao's hand. He drew his sword and swung it, simple and clean. However, what surprised everyone was that Chen Hao, who had raised his strength to the peak, did not move from his original position. His swinging of the sword was not as fast as expected. To be precise, it looked very slow. This is my first battle. I'll use you to practice my sword. No one knew what Chen Hao was really thinking. He only wanted to practice his sword and familiarize himself with his strength. That was why he did not attack. Instead, he chose to completely defend. He swung his sword in an arc, using softness to overcome strength. He had fused it into the most useless of all sword arts, the soft sword art. The reason why it was useless was because it was only defense, pure defense. Chen Hao's handsome face became as calm as water. When drunken mortal dust's attack arrived, his entire person was like a leaf drifting in the wind, or like a lone boat floating in the sea, letting the wind and waves hit it as it moved with the waves. The increase in the realm of the soul, the law of heaven, and the realm of the sword arts allowed Chen Hao's understanding of the soft sword art to be much more profound than before. How strong would his defense be? Chapter 522. Humph. You want to stop me with this? Go. Contrary to Chen Hao's expectations, when Zui Fanchen was about 10,000 feet away from Chen Hao, he suddenly swung his sword violently, his hands forming a complicated sword sign. Chi. Chi 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 chi. In an instant, the speed of the sword increased by several times, and at the same time, it split into 2, then 4. In an instant, there were 512 sword lights that seemed to be real. The sword lights were covered with mysterious golden runes, and under the control of his tyrannical divine sense, the 512 sword lights seemed to have a life of their own. From different angles, from different directions, they drew a strange arc and attacked Chen Hao from all directions. So strong. Is this Zui Fanchen's true strength? This scene shocked all the cultivators who were watching the fight. Although everyone expected that Zui Fanchen had held back his strength in the previous 3 rounds, they did not expect that he would burst out with such a powerful attack right at the beginning of the battle with Chen Hao. Obviously, the arrogance of Chen Hao, a rookie with 0 battle records, had really angered Zui Fanchen. Stronger than I expected. But, it's still not enough. Zui Fanchen's sudden use of a unique skill was indeed out of Chen Hao's expectations, but he had already decided to use Zui Fanchen to practice his swordsmanship, and was immersed in the state of soft swordsmanship, so he did not panic at all. In an instant, his mind became clearer and clearer. The 512 sword lights that seemed complicated, tricky, and strange, but contained a powerful force, each and every one of them appeared clearly in Qin Hao's mind. Even the slightest change in their trajectory was completely captured. Ding ding ding, boom boom boom, Qin Hao seemed to be slow but was actually fast, circling the treasured sword around his body in a circle, producing dense sounds of metal clashing and explosions. It looked extremely thrilling, and many cultivators even thought that Qin Hao would be killed by the sword light of the drunken mortal dust, but in the end, in just a few seconds, the 512 sword lights were all broken. Even though Qin Hao's clothes and hair were messed up by the chaotic flow of energy, and even Qin Hao felt a dull pain in the web between his thumb and forefinger due to the tyrannical power of the drunken mortal dust, the whole process was smooth, and he didn't panic at all. Competing in consciousness, control, and unique skills. Qin Hao possessed a mutated soul, dual cultivated in martial arts, and had an incomparably powerful psyche force. Moreover, he possessed 3,000 great daos. What did he have to fear? This seemingly powerful and strange attack was actually less threatening to Qin Hao than the simplest, most direct, and most violent attack. Is this really a noob with 0 battle records? Such calmness and composure, it's definitely a temperament that can only be tempered through countless battles. In just one battle, countless cultivators who thought that Qin Hao lacked battle skills and battle experience, were a little uncertain. Compared to the spectators, the one who was the most surprised was drunken mortal dust. He was the clearest about his own ultimate skill, especially the order in which Qin Hao had broken through his sword net attacks. It was practically at the pinnacle with no flaws to be found. Otherwise, if there was a mistake in the order in which one of the sword lights was broken, he would fall into the dangerous situation where he would not be able to resist the attacks of countless swords. Unfortunately, Qin Hao didn't make any mistakes. I don't believe that you can stop me. Chi chi chi. Drunken mortal dust, who had absolute confidence in the control of the avatars, after a short moment of surprise, began to attack even more strangely, craftily, and fiercely. Wave after wave, wave after wave, the continuous and increasingly powerful attacks were like a tide, rising higher and higher. However, Qin Hao's defense was seamless, without any openings to exploit. This made drunken mortal dust feel like a dog biting a porcupine. The more he fought, the angrier he got. This Qin Hao only knows how to defend. Damn, it's been so long and he hasn't even attacked once. No matter how good his defense is, what's the use? He should be using the most useless sword Dao, the soft sword Dao. If you let him attack, won't you be making things difficult for him? As the battle continued, the spectating cultivators' initial shock turned into speechlessness. They admitted that Qin Hao was very strong, but his current appearance really made them feel suffocated for him. Other than defending, he was still defending. He didn't even have a single attack. Although the battle was very exciting, it lacked too much passion. It was completely different from the wild, arrogant he had displayed before the start of the competition. Qin Hao, other than defending, what else do you know? If you have the guts, fight me head on, I don't want to waste too much time. Finally, drunken mortal dust couldn't take it anymore. In fact, he was already at his wit's end, driven crazy by the feeling of being unable to use his power. Fine, I wanted to let you fight for a while more. 3,000 immortal core crystals, that's too fast, it's not worth it, since you asked, I'll fulfill your wish. Qin Hao, whose hand was aching, knew that there was no need to practice the sword anymore. Drunken mortal dust was indeed very strong, but unfortunately, his strong aspect happened to be the aspect that Qin Hao was most proud of, so there wasn't much point in continuing. Therefore, at this moment, Qin Hao decisively made his move. A sword pierced out. Clean and efficient, simple and direct, and incomparably fierce. At this moment, especially the few spectating experts in the arena, they clearly felt that Qin Hao's sword intent had suddenly changed. In that instant, it was as if the air had been subjected to an enormous pressure, and a sword intent that could destroy the heavens and earth gushed out. The sword light was like a long black river that streaked across the 9 heavens. Chi 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 chi. 1 sword, 2 swords, 3 swords, a total of 6 swords. It should be enough. Even if his true yuan and physical body are stronger than mine, he shouldn't be able to withstand 6 swords in a row. Chen Hao's dark eyes flashed with a crazed fighting spirit hidden in his bones as he stared at the 6 consecutive swords. Platinum sky-splitting slash. The ultimate skill that he was most proficient in. Ultimate skill in a row. Break for me. Break. Break. Boom 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 boom, horrifying explosions raged. Drunken mortal dust, who had thought that Chen Hao would stubbornly resist until the end, did not expect that Chen Hao would attack as soon as he said he would. Moreover, his attack was an attack that made him feel great danger. Moreover, it was consecutive attacks. At this moment, he crazily pushed himself to the limit. The strong fighting spirit that had been cultivated under countless near-death situations made his little universe explode. He was sure that this was the strongest state he had ever been in. Unfortunately, puff. Along with the rumbling explosion, a soft syllable entered drunken mortal dust's ears. At the same time, he felt a chill between his eyebrows. Then, he clearly felt his brain explode. In horror, shock, and endless unwillingness, he turned into a ray of white light and disappeared from the arena. Drunken mortal dust was dead. Wuji star, Chen Hao, a rookie with 0 battle record, defeated drunken mortal dust, a well-known elite in the initial stage of the human celestial stage. No one had expected such a result before the start of the competition. Even Heavenly Lord Yuanru and Patriarch Wuji, who were familiar with Chen Hao, did not expect Chen Hao to win so easily, so cleanly. Impossible, impossible. How could I lose? How could I lose to someone with 0 battle record, whose physical body and true yuan are not as good as mine? What kind of ultimate skill did he use? On a desolate planet, in a dilapidated cave, drunken mortal Storm jumped to his feet. His face was filled with shock and cold sweat dripped down his back. Clearly, the death in the second world had affected him greatly in the real world. So he was telling the truth all along. Drunken mortal dust recalled Chen Hao's moves in his mind and finally fell silent. Unfortunately, from the beginning to the end, he thought Chen Hao was just acting tough. I lost. Chen Hao, soon, I will challenge you. I hope you won't avoid the challenge. After a flash of white light, drunken mortal dust, the arena champion, returned to the arena. This was the special privilege of the arena champion. After his death, he could re-enter the arena and appear directly in the arena. You're always welcome. Chen Hao smiled. That's good. I'll let you enter the arena. I believe you need to fight. That's all for today. Whoosh. Drunken mortal dust jumped out of the arena. He needed time to digest this battle. He was not in the mood to finish the remaining 6 battles. This was a common situation in the arena. If the arena champion lost, he could continue to be the arena champion and complete 10 battles. However, if he chose to give up the remaining battles, the person who defeated him could take over as the arena champion. Beep beep beep. 3,000 immortal core crystals have been received. Congratulations on being promoted to arena champion. You have 2 choices. First, no matter the outcome, you will continue to be the arena champion. The remaining battles will be 6. Second, if you win, you will continue to be the arena champion. If you lose, it will be over. Which one do you choose? Huh? There's such a thing. Chen Hao was slightly surprised when he received the message. This was something he did not know and had never heard of. Yes. This is a special situation. What special situation? Because your strength is not in line with your battle record. Once such a situation occurs in the arena, this condition will be activated. It will only end when your battle record and strength are close to the arena champion. In other words, this is a chance for you to improve your battle record. May I ask, which one do you choose? I see. Of course, the second one. Okay. The challenge system for you is now open. Please check the challenger's information. Beep beep beep. As soon as the pleasant sound ended, Chen Hao received dozens of challenge applications, and the number was still increasing rapidly. No way. Looking at the rapidly increasing number of challenge messages, Chen Hao was a little dumbfounded. Just a moment ago, he was still worried about getting the other party to accept his challenge. Now, he was worried about choosing his opponent. Fuck, this change came too fast and too exciting. What puzzled Chen Hao even more was that the wager of each challenger was basically 100 immortal core crystals. Many of them were 200 immortal core crystals. The highest bet was even 500 immortal core crystals. This was very rare in the arena of the initial stage of the human celestial stage. After all, he was intoxicated by the mundane world. The wager of 3,000 immortal core crystals was purely unexpected and abnormal. Under normal circumstances, the wager of 5 or 10 immortal core crystals was normal. But now. Chapter 523. With just one battle, Chen Hao's value had soared to a height that even drunken mortal dust could not reach. Battle record: 1 win, 0 draws, 0 losses. He was still a newbie. If others did not know Chen Hao well, they would not even open their eyes to look at such a battle record. However, the countless cultivators present deeply understood the value of Chen Hao's battle record of 1 win. To be able to battle with such an expert, regardless of winning or losing, there would be great rewards. Phew. Since he wants to rise, then let's do it crazily. As for me, I really need battles, lots of battles. Except. Beep beep beep, I've passed. Ha! A cultivator in the crowd shouted excitedly. Under the gaze of the surrounding cultivators, he flew directly into the arena. However, what made everyone frown slightly was that this cultivator's aura was very ordinary. It was not on the same level as drunken mortal dust. Why did Chen Hao choose such an opponent? Especially those who had issued the challenge and whose aura was obviously stronger than this cultivator. They did not understand why Chen Hao did not choose them but chose a weaker cultivator. However, at this moment, no one said anything. This was because all the cultivators who had applied to challenge Chen Hao had received a reply and were temporarily waiting. Other than Chen Hao, no one knew how many cultivators had issued the challenge. Therefore, when the cultivators received the temporary waiting reply, they thought that they were already the target of Chen Hao's battle. However, they did not understand why he did not accept it directly. After all, under normal circumstances, if it was not an acceptance or a rejection, there would not be a temporary waiting reply. Ha ha ha. Chen Hao, thank you for giving me such a rare learning opportunity. Just use your strongest move directly. Otherwise, you may not be able to learn anything. Chen Hao said lightly. He was not being polite and did not pretend to be a good person. Time was money. If it was not for the battle record, why would he casually agree to a cultivator who was almost useless to him? Of course, it was more for money. Every one of them started with 100 immortal essence crystals. To the current Chen Hao, this was extremely tempting. Humph. Don't look down on me. Even if I am not as good as you, if you want to defeat me, you have to show me some strength. Chi. Chen Hao's ruthless words enraged the other party. As soon as he made his move, he raised himself to his strongest state and violently covered Chen Hao. Clang. A cold and emotionless sword light flashed past. It was peerlessly fierce and filled with destructive sword insight. At this moment, it seemed to have surpassed the restraints of space and time, and it drew out a fan-shaped screen of light with unbelievable speed. Puff! Like a laser cutting, he directly cut off the other party's head. Battle record 2. My turn. Boom! The second cultivator who passed Chen Hao's application received the news when the first cultivator disappeared from the arena. He recovered from the shock of Chen Hao's stunning sword and rushed to the arena with a rising fighting spirit. Fierce Wind Divine Dragon Palm. Whoosh! With the first cultivator as a reference, the second cultivator didn't waste any time and used his most powerful unique skill. His purpose was very simple. It was enough for him to sense Qinhao's pressure and fighting spirit. As for combat skills, he knew he couldn't compete with Qinhao like drunken mortal. Rumble. Puff. Battle record 3. Battle record 7. In just 15 minutes, Qinhao's battle record soared to 7. That was to say, after drunken mortal, Qinhao won 6 battles in a row. Wow, he is so powerful. He killed 6 people with one move in a row. His strength is enough to rank him at the top of the initial stage of the human celestial stage. Ah! My application was approved. Just when most people thought that Qinhao's battle for the day was over, a cultivator in the crowd cried out in surprise. Everyone turned to look at that cultivator, puzzled. It should be noted that Very Good replaced Drunken Mortal as the champion of the arena. That was to say, Qinhao should have finished the remaining 6 battles of Drunken Mortal. But why did he accept the challenge again? Moreover, many people who applied found that their application was still pending. What was going on? Qinhao, the Wuji star, the gap between your combat strength and your battle record is enough to activate the combat strength and battle record balancing plan. If you choose the second option, you will lose your title as the champion of the arena if you lose. If you win, you will continue to be the champion of the arena. There is no limit to the number of battles. Please continue. An old-fashioned, standard, and emotionless voice of an old man resounded around the arena at this time, which solved the doubts in people's hearts. Immediately after, the way everyone looked at Qinhao changed for the first time. The gap between their combat strength and their battle record was so big that it could activate a balancing plan that they had never heard of before. What did that mean? It should be noted that there were many real geniuses in the arena, especially those newcomers who showed great combat strength at the beginning. For example, those who were ranked at the top of the initial stage of the human celestial stage. Which one of them didn't have a winning streak at the beginning? But no one could activate this condition. How could the crowd not be shocked? However, they didn't realize that this didn't mean that Qinhao was stronger than the top geniuses. The reason was very simple. No one challenged Drunken Mortal at the beginning, who was a famous figure with a super high battle record. If that wasn't the case, how could this mode be activated? Senior brother, there is a rookie master in the arena. He defeated Drunken Mortal, who was ranked at the top of the battle record, in his first battle. Oh. Who is he? A young master from the Wuji star, his name is Qinhao. He has mastered the soft sword principle and the destruction sword principle, and the realm of each of them is very high. The unique skills he used are even more powerful. Drunken Mortal was killed before he could even resist. He just became the champion of the arena. The gap between his battle record and his combat strength has activated the hidden condition of the arena. As long as he doesn't lose, he can continue to accept challenges, and he is not limited by the number of battles per day. Many of the cultivators present had transmitted the situation of the battle to their close friends. Especially those who were in the ranks of the masters. This situation, which had never happened in 1,000 years, seemed to have grown wings. Through the practitioners present, it spread to the circle of practitioners in the second world at an astonishing speed. This made the cultivators at the initial stage of the human celestial stage, and even the cultivators at the middle stage and the late stage of the human celestial stage in the second world rush to the arena. They wanted to know who Qinhao was, who had triggered the hidden condition of the arena. Therefore, in less than 15 minutes, arena number 132, where Qinhao was in the initial stage of the human celestial stage, was packed with people. People were standing on top of each other. It was almost as crowded as the time when Zui Hengqian and Zhu Geming were fighting. Moreover, only a few minutes had passed. The crowd was still increasing at an amazing speed. This was something that Qinhao didn't expect. Similarly, the Infinity Patriarch and Holy Master Yuan Ru, who were in the crowd, didn't expect that Qinhao's first battle could cause such a huge commotion. This was completely out of the Infinity Patriarch's expectation. However, they had to admit that such an amazing opening made the Infinity Patriarch and Holy Master Yuan Ru very excited and happy. The Infinity Patriarch wanted Qin Hao to rise quickly, become famous quickly, and be chosen by the real big shots quickly. Only in this way could he resolve the crisis of the Wuji star with the identity of the big shot and Qin Hao's potential. Qin Hao's opening was undoubtedly the best one. Of course, the real key was Qin Hao's performance. At least, it was impossible for a cultivator at the human celestial stage to complete the task set by the Infinity Patriarch. After all, this was the lowest level of the arena. It was only the lowest level of the cultivation world that caused an uproar. There was still a long way to go to reach the goal. 19, 20, 50, 99. Qin Hao counted the rapidly increasing numbers silently. In less than 4 hours, his record had soared to 100 wins, 0 draws, and 0 losses. This was the result of Qin Hao deliberately delaying when he encountered some special cultivators. Otherwise, the speed would be even faster. Including the drunken mortal dust, 100 wins. 100 wins in a row. He is so powerful. Looking at the arrogant, handsome, and incomparably cold Qin Hao, everyone was shocked. For all the spectators, the 100 wins were not as simple as a number. What really shocked them was Qin Hao's performance. Facing the occasional experts, especially those with secret skills, Qin Hao showed his absolute talent in fighting. When he needed to be calm, he was calmer than anyone else. Even when his life was hanging by a thread, he could make the best response. When he needed to be violent, his attacks would be earth-shattering. He was like a person born to fight. Even Ancestor Wuji and Heavenly Master Yuanru could not help but become fans. What made Heavenly Master Yuanru blush with shame was that Ancestor Wuji actually screamed and cheered. This completely broke Heavenly Master Yuanru's understanding of his beloved and mysterious master. Make way, make way. As soon as Shimen Feng received the news, he was like an ant on a hot pan. He could not wait to rush over from a secret cultivation realm in the second world. He did not even care about his image, which he had always cared about. No one knew how determined this abnormal guy was for Qin Hao. Since the last time they met, Shimen Feng had become a completely different person. In the past, with the support of his family's strong foundation, cultivation could be said to be the last thing he cared about. But now, because of Qin Hao, it was as if his personality had changed and he was cultivating crazily. To say something that made Qin Hao want to vomit blood, even compared to Tan Tai Lian, this guy was not inferior. It was all for the person he loved. Qin Hao, no. I'd better hide in a corner and secretly watch him. When I'm really strong, it'll be the time for me to face him again. Moreover, I'm in a very sorry state now. How can I let him see me? Shimen Feng walked forward for a while. When he saw Qin Hao's gaze sweeping the area below the arena, his heart skipped a beat and he lowered his head in shame. He quickly hid in a corner. Beauty. It's a pity. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Qidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 524. After Shimen Feng stopped, he saw a beautiful woman beside him who stood out from the crowd. This beauty's aura was extremely strong, and she emitted a unique temperament. She was like a proud peacock, but also like a lofty white swan. Her figure was extremely enchanting, and even though she was standing in a corner in a very low-key manner, she still attracted the attention of many. If Shimen Feng had met such a beautiful woman in the past, he would have definitely pestered her and spared no effort to get her. But now, no matter how charming you were, this brother's gaze would only linger on you for a moment. His heart already belonged to someone, and he had found his true love. He was completely infatuated with someone, and everyone else had lost their luster in his eyes. Shimen Feng's purpose of rushing over was just to see Qin Hao's elegance. However, at this time, the occasional discussions of the surrounding cultivators made Shimen Feng's gaze once again turn to the great beauty beside him. Beauty, are you from the Wuji star? Shimen Feng raised his sword-like eyebrows and asked expectantly. Years of living like a prince naturally gave people a feeling of superiority. Although he looked a little embarrassed at this time, he couldn't hide this feeling that had been deeply ingrained in his bones. Who are you? The beautiful woman looked at Shimin Feng coldly. This beautiful woman was none other than Bailey Ningbing, who had been in the limelight recently. At least in the arena of the initial stage of the human celestial stage, she was already a little famous. Of course, most of this fame came from her appearance. Only a small part of it was due to her strength. In reality, when Shimin Feng arrogantly shouted, move aside, she had already noticed Shimin Feng. Of course, she had also noticed that after seeing Shimin Feng, many people couldn't help but reveal a timid look in their eyes. Very clearly, this told Bailey Ningbing that this guy with an ordinary aura, who could be considered handsome, should have a very deep background. Otherwise, he wouldn't be so domineering in such a public place, and the others wouldn't automatically move aside and remain silent. I'm Shimin Feng from the Ying Star. Nice to meet you, Shimin Feng. Is he a disciple of the Shimin family? Bailey Ningbing thought to herself. During her time in the Second World, she had gained a basic understanding of the major forces and families of the Ying planet. However, she still looked down on such a hedonistic son of a wealthy family who only relied on his background. But that didn't mean that she couldn't get to know him. If she befriended such a person, she would at least be able to step into the upper-class circle, right? This was the same as cultivation. You couldn't become fat in one go. You could only advance step by step. Bailey Ningbing. Bailey Ningbing announced her name in a neutral tone. She did not reject him, nor did she cling to him intimately. I've long heard of your name. Miss Bailey, are you familiar with Brother Chinhao? Shimin Feng asked straightforwardly. What is it? Bailey Ningbing frowned. She originally thought that the person was here for her, but she didn't expect that the person would turn to Chinhao with just a few words. This made her a little unhappy, especially when the person mentioned Chinhao. His eyes shone with a trace of passion. It's nothing. I have a little conflict with Brother Chinhao, so I want to know his contact number so that I can get his forgiveness. If you know, just tell me and I'll thank you greatly. Sorry, I don't know. I'm not familiar with him. Bailey Ningbing's eyes changed. After a moment of silence, she said coldly. After he finished speaking, he turned his gaze to the arena. Clearly, people of different principles couldn't work together. Shimin Feng shook his head in disappointment. He suddenly lost interest in continuing the conversation. He looked at Chinhao, who had started fighting again. Great! Great! So cool! Shimin Feng occasionally cheered along with the crowd. He was full of madness, especially when he looked at the arena. His eyes were burning with passion and excitement. This made Bailey Ningbing, who was next to him, very uncomfortable. However, she had to admit that the combat skills that Chinhao displayed at this moment were indeed powerful to the extent that it shocked her. It was as if he was not inferior to the simulated Chinhao at all. You're obviously in the medium stage of the human celestial stage, but you're pretending to be in the early stage of the human celestial stage. How shameless. The more Bailey Ningbing watched, the angrier she became. Especially Chinhao's cold look, which made her even more unhappy. However, in the Second World, the rules allowed it. Not only Chinhao, but many people would do the same. She could only say that. She didn't know that Chinhao had another breakthrough after reaching the medium stage of the human celestial stage. In fact, no one in the Silver Wing knew that Chinhao had another breakthrough in the control room except for the sisters and Heavenly Lord Yuanru. Just you wait. When I really integrate the immortal concept into it'll be time for me to trample on you. Hiss. Bailey Ningbing couldn't stand it anymore and chose to leave. Record, 200 wins, 0 draws, 0 losses. The number that continued to soar shocked everyone. Who could fight 200 battles in a row in less than a day, and still maintain a perfect victory record? Even in the Second World, before every battle, one would automatically return to peak condition. However, one had to be mentally able to bear it and digest it, right? At least, in the past, no one had ever heard of anyone fighting 200 battles in a row so crazily and still continuing without any intention of stopping. Of course, this was also the reason why no one had triggered the hidden condition of being able to fight continuously in the arena. Phew. It's been 200 battles. Except for a few opponents with special constitutions and inherited talents, they're basically useless to me. Is it because I'm too strong, or are the geniuses of the Asianing planet not as strong as the legends say? Or is it because my current performance hasn't attracted the attention of the real masters? Chen Hao was a little puzzled and a little regretful. This was the legendary feeling of being lonely at the top, as lonely as the snow. Screw it, I have to continue even if it's for money. Next. Chen Hao didn't even bother to choose an opponent. As long as someone dared to challenge him, he would accept it. Moreover, he would challenge them one by one according to the order in which they applied. Without a real master, he didn't gain much, but he did gain something. Especially with the soaring number of immortal core crystals, he couldn't bear to refuse any challengers. He had earned more than 10,000 crystals in 200 battles, it couldn't be helped. The cultivators who came later and those who didn't challenge him at the beginning all realized that Chen Hao didn't refuse anyone. Coupled with the terrifying combat power that Chen Hao had shown, no one was willing to pay a high price. However, they didn't want to be too shabby. After all, it was a rare opponent. If they only bet 5 or 10 crystals, it would be no different from a slap in the face. Therefore, they basically kept it at 50 immortal core crystals and above. Only a few cultivators who were really poor but really wanted to fight put up 10 to 20 crystals. Moreover, Chen Hao's reply was still to wait for the time being. This proved that there was still hope. No. How can I think like that? No matter how weak the opponent is, there should be something strong about him. Why can't I combine earning money and cultivation together? I should do this. When the 201st cultivator showed an extremely fierce and dangerous close-range attack with a short sword that was only a little longer than a dagger, it made Chen Hao a little nervous. If it weren't for the fact that the opponent was weaker than him in terms of true essence and physical body, Chen Hao was sure that he would have been injured. However, after using his strength to force his opponent back, a flash of inspiration suddenly appeared in Chen Hao's mind, and he realized an extremely serious problem. Soon after, he made an extremely wise decision, but one that puzzled everyone. This decision directly reduced the speed of Chen Hao's improvement in battle results by more than 10 times. The reason was very simple. For any opponent that Chen Hao met, he controlled his strength to be equal to his opponent's, or even weaker. At the same time, Chen Hao also threw away all the concepts of unique skills and started to fight purely based on instinct. The source of this flash of inspiration was the mysterious and unfathomable general outline of the Great Tao. He had already understood the surface and revealed a message. The 3,000 Great Tao were all the origin of the Great Tao. However, this origin was the creator of the unique skill of the Great Tao. He could cultivate it, but it was not his own Tao. This was also the reason why Chen Hao could only cultivate a few unique skills that were suitable for him. This meant that the true Great Tao, the Tao that was most suitable for him, was the Great Tao that he created himself. He had to rely on himself for his own Tao. The 3,000 Great Tao was only to help him get started and to help him comprehend it. In the end, only by stepping on his own Tao technique origin could he break the shackles and achieve the supreme Great Tao. Chi! Chi! Boom! 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 Everyone was puzzled to find that Chen Hao seemed to have changed into a different person. His original coldness had disappeared and was replaced by emptiness. His strength and true essence were obviously much weaker than before. To be exact, he had become equal to the cultivator he was fighting, or even slightly weaker. However, he gave people the feeling that he had become more natural and smooth. This feeling was like he was immersed in a mysterious epiphany. The Tao follows the heart. This is. Countless people were puzzled and did not understand. Although they sensed the strange aura on Chen Hao's body, the sudden slowing of the battle rhythm and strength made them feel even more uncomfortable. Especially the cultivators who were waiting to go on stage, they were even more anxious. He could have defeated his opponent in minutes. Why did he deliberately let him go? Master, what is junior brother doing? Even Heavenly Lord Yuanru was puzzled. Impossible. Patriarch Wuji's eyes were bright as if he had been stimulated. He did not hear Heavenly Lord Yuanru's words at all and muttered. Master, what do you mean impossible? Heavenly Lord Yuanru asked in surprise. No, nothing. What surprised Heavenly Lord Yuanru was that his high and mighty master actually stuttered a little. Furthermore, it was obvious that he had discovered something but had no intention of telling him. This made Heavenly Lord Yuanru very puzzled. What could make the patriarch so shocked? Not only was he shocked, but he even hid it from his personal disciple. This did not make sense. However, the truth was that Patriarch Wuji had no intention of telling him. It was as if all his attention was focused on Qin Hao's battle. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.